Hello! Welcome to the latest episode of Yeah, I've Played. I am one of your three hosts. I'm Matt Hall.
Hey, and I'm Andrew Taylor.
And I'm Jordan Hill.
Today we are experiencing a discussion on the 2001 third-person shooter from Remedy Entertainment, Max Payne.
Hell yeah.
As you can see, I have my PC copy here that I found recently at a thrift shop. Complete with the manual.
Oh, sweet.
Some interesting little bits in there that, I feel like this is something that you don't get when you buy it on Steam or GOG. Did you guys play this on Steam or GOG?
I did play it on Steam.
I did as well.
And
Science, technology, arts,
You skipped English.
English, and mathematics.
yes, incredible. And this is a game that, in case you're curious,
it's engineering. Sorry.
wishlist it. You can get the entire Max Payne trilogy for like $18 or less, like half the year.
I think the first two cost less than $3.
It was $2.50 a piece, I believe.
Yeah.
For the first two games.
And then the third one's always like $8 or $9.
Yeah, but it's honestly super worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Max Payne.
Stop making the fucking Sam Lake face.
Max Payne is the second game from Finnish developers Remedy Entertainment. The game was originally slated for release in the summer of 1999, but was delayed and heavily revamped before being published in 2001 by 3D Realms and the Gathering of Publishers Incorporated. Since its release, the game has been ported to the PS2, Xbox, Game Boy Advance, as well as mobile versions for both iOS and Android. The game spawned 2 successful sequels, as well as a Hollywood film starring Mark Wahlberg and Mila Kunis.
Ooh, Mark.
Yes. So,
Mila Kunis.
is it Mila?
I think so.
It could be either one.
I'm referencing
Mila?
I think it is Mila.
I think it's Mila.
I'm referencing a really funny joke from A Thousand Ways to Die in the West.
Is that a joke?
No, it's just
It's not a joke.
Seth MacFarlane saying a name funny. I think at the expense of Native American people. So
Oh, cool.
Peak comedy.
really good.
Did you say P comedy? Because I love that stuff.
I'm into waterworks.
So, normally when we do these Yeah, I've Played, it's been maybe 3 to 10 weeks since we finished the game. But I think we've all finished the game pretty fucking recently, actually.
Yeah, I finished it 2 days ago.
Same here.
So I want to kind of do a breakdown bit by bit of how it goes, and we'll talk about the form and everything. But before we get into like a deeper sort of dissection, are there any thoughts you want to share, right off the crack?
Yeah, I do think Jordan had a similar experience to when you played through Alan Wake, where you must have gotten to like right before the end of the game when you stopped your session, and then the next playtime, did you just like destroy
It was horrible. I actually ran into a little bit of confusion because I was trying to figure out how many chapters I had left while I was playing because it was getting pretty late. It was about 2 or 3 in the morning, and I was
wrapping up your game.
When was this?
Saturday night?
Oh, okay.
Saturday or Sunday.
And we're filming this on a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday, yes. I like to marathon the game so that way I get confused if I mix other games in between.
Yeah.
But so I'm going on probably about 6 hours, and I'm on part 3, chapter 2. And I go, okay, this might be a good stopping point. There's been like 9 chapters previously, you know what I mean?
You got a while to go from that point
you know what I mean? But I start looking it up, and online I realized that in the computer version, because you don't need as many load screens, it's cut down, the chapters are shortened. So there's not shortened, but I guess elongated. There's less chapters, is what I'm trying to say.
On PC.
On PC.
Right, because the console version, they couldn't load the full levels, so they had to break up into like sub-chapters.
Every loading screen was a sub-chapter, basically. Yeah. So I'm getting different answers of, you only have 5 left, you have 8 left, you know what I mean? You have 9 left. And I was like, oh,
what the hell?
Cool. So I just stopped, got back on the next day, and finished it in about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Which is almost exactly, you're almost at the last encounter in Alan Wake. You had the same. I
didn't cut it as close with Alan Wake. That was the morning of.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's good. We're figuring out our flow, but I feel very fresh with this
I'm a
game.
procrastinator.
It was intentional for me.
So I already mentioned that we played it very recently, but do you have anything to share about the experience before we get into a deeper dissection?
Right away when I started playing Max Payne, I noticed a lot of similarities from other Remedy games, and I kind of got a unique perspective because we played through Alan Wake and Control before I ever even thought about playing Max Payne. but you see a lot of similarities in the gameplay mechanics. So much so that it even, when you watch Max Payne run, it's basically the same animation as Alan Wake, which came out, 10 years later.
Yeah.
But they both have the same strange gait with the very awkward legs moving long, almost like you're bouncing with each step. And it was just fun to see.
That's kind of fucked up. That's how Finnish people walk.
Oh, no.
Why would you say that?
Canceled.
It's because the altitude and the way the ground is over there. It's just
There's less
different.
gravity.
They take a lot. They're in the sauna a lot. That messes with their bone density.
No, but you can totally see the DNA.
It's
Oh, absolutely.
so much, and I think a controversial thing, something that we don't really say a lot on the show is, it's a good game.
Oh, I was thinking of the other controversial thing we don't say a lot in the show.
No, we'll save that for the Patreon special special features. But no, we usually only review games that are good for the most part. But this game fucking is good and holds up for the most part.
I thought it held up really well for a game from 2001.
This game's almost
You
as
know what I
old
mean?
as
20 years old.
Yeah, this game
I was
slightly-
I'm horrible at math. I was 6 years old
Yeah.
when this game came out.
Viewer, the game is older than you.
Probably.
Oh.
I'm speaking to a 19-year-old or younger.
Yeah. If you're 19 years old,
Legally, I'm allowed to now.
Hi, my queens above 18.
yeah, that Remedy DNA it's clear. Like it feels like there was moments where I was like, damn, this feels like Control. Damn, this feels like Alan Wake.
Well, even as far as like the little things where you find notes that lead to cutscenes, you know what I mean? You find the radios playing, you find the TV playing a little show or something. Everything like that. They're clear themes that they carry on and they make unique to each game because while it reminded me of them, it didn't feel like I was just doing the same thing that I was doing.
That's really crazy that they can... I mean, essentially, if you took all the story and unique textures and unique items out of the games, they've been making the same game for 20 years.
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
But they're able to, like, take that, like, very basic formula and just keep making it work.
Like
in
refining
a way
it,
that,
yeah.
that
I think it's because
it doesn't feel repetitive. It's crazy.
No, and I think it's because each game has very unique mechanics to each one. Where in Control you have your powers and you have the service weapon. In Alan Wake you have the flashlight, you know what I mean, where you have to fight the darkness, you know what I mean? And then in this game you have
Great band.
Right, great band. They believe in a thing called love.
Yeah,
But
it's good for them.
and then in this you have the bullet dodge and the bullet time.
Yeah.
Or the shoot dodge.
It's called Shoot Dodge.
Shoot dodge.
I never
Our new channel
successfully
name.
used shoot dodge.
Really? I
don't-
I really suck shit at it. And
You
in Max
said that.
Payne 3, they like force you into it sometimes,
Yeah.
where like a scene will open up and you like jump through a window, and so your bullet time shoot dodging like through into a scene.
Yeah.
And I would often like biff every single shot, and you'd have like 10 seconds of just like they're all lined up ready for you. It's like
Yeah.
action movie shit.
This
I
might
don't know
have
if I'm
been-
just shit at these games or...
This might have been just me, but I had to go into the settings almost immediately and turn the sensitivity down
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot.
Oh, yeah.
Because unless I noticed at first, unless I was in the bullet time, I really couldn't like get my reticle on it.
Well,
but-
It was made for it wasn't made for optical mouses.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
It was made for rollerball.
monkey ball mouses.
Anyway, so do you have anything else?
Yeah, it's so we had to download a little fix.
Yeah, there's basically if you're curious about playing the game, you haven't yet. There's the Max Payne Complete Fix patch, which you can get, which is kind of like all of the community bug fixes and patches and everything put together in one easy to use exe.
An idiot like me managed to nail it.
Yeah,
So
you just click through it. But if you don't use that, the game just works still, for the most part, right?
To a degree.
No,
Not at all.
well,
I thought it ran
sound
without
doesn't
it.
work.
Yeah, it's the issue I ran into because that's the one step I messed up initially.
Yeah.
I didn't have any sound. I had sound during gameplay, but there was no sound or audio, like dialogue. There was no dialogue and no audio
Right.
during cutscenes.
Do you really
Any
need
of the
that?
comics. Yeah, it was a pretty. But the voice acting was pretty enjoyable in this game. Even if campy at times,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
really fun,
Absolutely.
and I would have missed out a lot
So it is.
if I didn't do that patch.
I do think that any game that you should purchase, it should probably work. I understand developing for things is hard, but with this, the fixes that it needed, super easy, like you said.
Super minimal.
You
And if
just
you don't have
click it.
someone like Matt to send it all to you, if you just Google Max Payne
Yeah.
run on PC, it'll
Yeah.
be one of the top 3 things.
There's tons of
that
younger
comes up.
games that I have had so much more trouble just getting to run on modern hardware.
I mean, for like 10 years almost, the Scarface game for PC that came out in like 2006 didn't work.
Yeah.
You know, there's games from like 2005 to like 2009 or so that like I've been trying to play recently that fucking don't work on Windows 10. And
I couldn't get Fallout 3 to run for days until I changed the aspect ratio
Yeah.
on my display.
Wow.
And for whatever reason, as soon as I did that, just started right up.
You know, I think there's tons of things that we could say about how good of an experience. I think I love the atmosphere. It really brought me back to 2001. That's my last piece. Is that like it reminded me of? I felt like I was watching Daredevil. It felt like I was watching Spider-Man 1 and 2, the very first ones.
I felt like I was there on that September morning and the first day of school, I mean,
Oh,
in
yeah.
2001, 7th grade.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Start of September.
Yeah,
early
right.
September.
Early September.
around that time. Jesus.
Yep.
So
That's when I started 7th grade. So
That's-
I was leaving elementary school and going to junior high. I don't know what you're thinking of.
no, I was just. My friend had a birthday in September, so yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
But
It really-
brought me back to that time.
It did. It brought
was
me back
cool.
to my formative gaming experiences, I
Yeah.
guess. Back to playing old shitty James Bond games on the PlayStation 1 and,
Yeah.
you know, it's just good.
To give my part on that, when this game came out, I had a friend who had an Xbox and he was playing on an Xbox and I like picked it up for a minute and I was in one of the nightmare levels. And
with the platforming.
Yeah, the one where you're like on the blood trail and you're like trying to
Ugh.
platform through, and anyone who's played the game knows what I mean.
We'll get there.
I was just like, what the fuck? This is an action game? Like this is so weird and it kind of sucks.
You
like
couldn't have
I
started
was like
at a worse point.
I was like, what game has floaty jump mechanics? This makes no fucking sense.
That's like-
in the context of the game, it makes perfect sense.
It
does.
But
Once-
removed, it's like
Yeah.
That's like starting a Mario game in a water level. Like, ugh. Like, what the fuck?
like what? You're an Italian guy who swims? Jesus
You're a plumber. What are you
Christ.
swimming in?
Game Boy Advance port?
And mobile port.
Yeah.
The mobile port is pretty spot on. The Game Boy
Yeah.
Advance port is like an isometric view that simplifies the game, but uses a lot of the same assets.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I've heard some people dunk on it because it's a Game Boy Advance game, and like, how do you make a complicated third-person PC shooter into a Game Boy Advance game? I think they did the best they possibly could. You know,
Yeah,
it has,
for
like-
something that's totally unnecessary.
yeah,
I feel like the mobile port was also unnecessary, but
Yeah,
if it works,
at least
that's
you can
cool.
play it on mobile if you want.
I guess, but I mean, what does a PlayStation 2 cost now? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true. I think
$20?
you know,
You'll probably
this,
find one for free if you needed to.
Yeah.
this won't be a comprehensive guide about the Game Boy Advance game, but I watched a couple of videos on it, and
We're changing the theme of the channel.
we're moving over to ports. But I don't know. I thought it was pretty impressive. They had fully voiced dialogue throughout the entire experience. It was like
Did you notice that the game music has just like insane bongos? They're just like
no, they're intense.
like they're just going for
Yeah.
Well,
Game music is something that
sets
like
the music.
it often
Sets
is
the
missed
mood.
on me, unfortunately. I'm not great at paying attention to soundtracks.
Well, look up the Max Payne Game Boy Advance soundtrack. Anyway, the game is divided into 22 chapters with 3 prologues and an epilogue, I believe, on PC. And the first of 3 parts, so there's the part 1, part 2, part 3, and then there's chapters within those. The first one's called The American Dream, and I will read a brief synopsis that'll get us up to pace on the story here. In part 1 of Max Payne's adventure, he is an officer with the NYPD. He returns home one day to find that 3 men high on a new designer drug called Valkyr have broken into his home and murdered his wife and newborn daughter. Max transfers to the DEA to try to get to the bottom of the Valkyr case, and after 3 years of undercover work wherein he infiltrated the local organized crime syndicates, there's finally a break in the case. Max has discovered a link between Valkyr and Jack Lupino of the Punchinello crime family, which is led by Angelo Punchinello. Max is instructed by Agent Beebe of the DEA to meet up with his partner, Alex Balder, at the Roscoe Street subway station. Balder is murdered in front of Max by an unknown assailant. Max's cover is blown, and now Max finds himself being pursued by both the mob and the police, who believe that he is guilty of murdering Alex Balder. Max is now on a quest to clear his name and find Jack Lupino. He gets put through the ringer
has
in the
a rough
first
go at it.
10 minutes of the game.
Rough go at it.
They do a good job. They do a good job. Sorry, I got really excited watching all this Italian mob stuff. They do a really good job of explaining all of that later on, but I did feel like I was a lot in the dark for maybe the first half of the game as far as my comprehension of what was going on. It took a second for it to click. Did that happen for you guys? Or
That's
did you...
all explained in the first 2 cutscenes.
I
mean,
didn't
yeah.
have audio for the first quarter of the game, and I got to be honest with you, I was following it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it
was.
You told me you had a hard time, and I was like maybe there's a couple points where it's a little convoluted.
Toward the
but,
end,
like,
I was like, wait, how is this person connected?
yeah, but right at the beginning, it's pretty straightforward. I thought there was different motivations at first. I thought initially that your family was killed because they wanted you to become an undercover agent, and it was just some shitty NYPD thing, you know what I mean? And I was like,
Yeah.
that's horrible. But then
I guess I understood clearly that, Max's family had been murdered. There were guys that were on this drug, and that
Yada,
he
yada,
had
yada.
switched over to the DEA and was going after that. But I thought at the beginning of the game, I assumed he had just gone rogue and was just murdering all of these drug people that he could find. It took me a while to realize that is kind of the case, but isn't really the case.
that's the
Okay.
case at first.
Yeah, it kind
For
of
the
is.
very
Yeah.
first level, you know what I mean? That's the case.
Up until when when you're in the subway, which is the first level.
Yeah.
So maybe I think I'm just an idiot. In the subway is where Baldur gets murdered.
He
And then
gets
from
domed.
that point on. Yeah.
Well, let's take it piece by piece. So, you start the game. You're getting home from work. You're driving home. You live in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. You work in New York. Live in New Jersey. That's the dream.
That's the Billy Joel dream.
We're all trying to be.
And you come into your home. I thought this was really striking. Just like the opening scene where you're home and you're like, oh shit, something's wrong.
I don't know if you guys are super familiar with like John Woo films and stuff like that, like the old Kung Fu, but that opening scene is like a direct John Woo reference almost.
Oh, really?
I can't remember the film, but that's effectively the costume of the protagonist in a John Woo film. The suit that he
I
walks
knew
in and
that-
like the outfit.
Basically all Remedy games steal a lot from other media in terms of like they just have very, very, very big inspirations from film and books. So I knew the style, but I didn't realize it was like that direct.
Yeah, that opening scene is like straight out of a John Woo movie. And then it leads in, which is why that's so striking, I think. I think they put a lot of time into it to kind of... And for anyone who's a big fan to kind of be like, right away, you're going to like this. If you like John Woo, you'll be into this right away. You know what I mean? You'll be like, oh, sweet. And then... Because their games are full of little Easter eggs and little references to stuff.
Yeah, and there wasn't like a John Woo game for a number of years after this.
No? Okay.
I can't remember what that game is called, but it fucking rules. I'll put the title right here. We should maybe do it on the show eventually. So essentially what happens is you come home from work, something's amiss, you go upstairs, and do you guys go into the bathroom? You get sort of jump scare where you can't get into the bedroom, you hear your family screaming.
Yeah.
I went into the bathroom first.
Then the 2 guys come out, and you shoot them down. You go into the nursery, you see a baby's corpse on the ground.
Like a super murdered baby.
They got that baby.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in a game.
That's
Not-
a ballsy thing to do in any media.
And opening scene.
Yeah.
This is the start of the game, and you're like, here's it. And it really hits home, kind of. You know what I mean? I'm sure it would have hit harder in 2001.
Yeah.
When this is like, oh, this looks amazing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now you're kind of like, oh, what's that bloody polygon on the floor? You know what I mean? But it's
No, he was...
was
That
a
was
bold
one,
move.
one dead baby.
Yeah, very fucked. And so then you go into the bedroom and you see a man has shot your wife.
it seems like moments before you're getting in, which
Yeah.
seemed
Yeah.
kind of unclear to me. Like I couldn't quite tell the timeline as you're walking in of when your family gets murdered. But it seems like it's happening as you get home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crime in progress.
Yeah.
Kind of operates on like, I don't know, it's a video game, but it kind of Bethesda rules where stuff kind of waits for you.
Oh,
Like,
okay,
you know-
yeah. Like as you enter the room, suddenly the next
that's-
dialogue thing's triggered.
Yeah, that's just how a video game works, but I'm saying also kind of like, they're like, we need to go into this is on fire right now, and then you can come back 12 months later, and they're still like, all
Yeah.
right, let's go.
I did stick around and kind of look at all the stuff in the living room.
I looked at the photos and
So
stuff
did I.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was crazy that even back in 2001, they had incredible attention to detail in the
did.
environments.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Was a note that I took. It was interesting because you can turn the knobs, you can open the drawers, but most of those things don't provide any sort of like tangible benefit aside from opening some cabinets and you can find weapons and painkillers.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
Just being able to interact with stuff?
to flush the toilet, to turn on the shower.
I thought it was cool.
I love it.
I was flushing out toilets all over the place. I was turning on
Yeah.
every sink.
I
you know
I
what
think
mean?
it's something that like nowadays I think gamers are used to a certain level of interactivity with the world where they're like, why would I want to press the light switch?
Yeah, I think
It doesn't do, but it's like, early 2000s especially, and this
Yeah.
game was developed. I mean, it was shown at E3 1998, so this game had been in development for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of feeds in exactly what the thoughts that I had then is that like bizarre. I think we've done like a full turnaround that like I remember initially when I was playing games as a kid, I was like, oh my god, you can turn the light on, you can
Yeah.
like turn,
You can shoot the bottle and the glass breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah, like little shit like that. Or if you like jump on the box, it breaks. Or if you smash
Yeah.
at the box, you know what I mean?
But now if it didn't have any
crumbles.
sort of like if it doesn't have any sort of direct usage, I kind of don't care about it. But I would if I didn't already have that experience of being able to like do that stuff. It's an interesting thing that we've evolved as gamers to be amazed by a thing and then not really care about it.
It was like I think of Duke Nukem 3D was like the first game I remember really being like, holy shit, you can interact with the environment. Specifically, I remember
picking
there
up
were-
your poop and
no, Duke Nukem 3D.
oh sorry, I forgot.
Interacting with the strippers was always really nice. No, but also one of the things I thought was so fucking cool was there's a pool table in like one of the first like 2 or 3 levels.
Yeah.
And like being able to like shoot the pool balls and stuff and seeing them move around like
Right.
that in like 1996 or 7 or whenever I played it
That's pretty cool.
was amazing.
I used to love little stuff like that. There was
Yeah.
And
As
I
did
feel
I.
like that's kind of been lost a little bit. Some games you still pick up on little stuff like that. Like they'll have little Easter eggs hidden kind of. Like with Controls Full, which is another the Remedy theme. But Controls Full of them with like all the little things when you find like the little inertia balls or whatever on the desks. If you
Yeah.
do all of them or if you find all the cats, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's another thing that they innovated in. Maybe not that not that they were the first ones, but all of those things have some sort of like lore, that involves So we talked about it before, but like the luck stuff was all related to
Yeah, almost none of it was just a toy. And
Yeah.
a lot of it did relate to like secrets.
but it could still
yeah.
also also work as a
Not
game.
the
So
case
that was
in Max
interesting.
Payne because you can just flush the toilet.
Yeah,
Because it's funny.
too. Yeah.
But
I do want to.
There are some interactive things later on that I think were pretty cool, but we'll get into those later.
Just speaking of toilets in games, I did, and this is totally off topic, but I need to say it because I just need to say it to someone else. I recently played through Heavy Rain.
Jason.
And I know that game is such a meme, like that part especially.
Yeah.
But that game is fucking insane. But there is also a high level of interactivity in that game.
okay.
And something you can do is piss in every toilet.
Oh, hell yeah.
And
Do you
it's
get
like
an
it's like a full like 8 to like 15-second animation of the character like approaching, unzipping, or if it's a woman like pulling down her pants and sitting down. Full piss.
Do they have penis physics?
You don't. It's all shot from an
okay.
angle where you don't see it, but like
Do you see the piss?
no, you hear it though.
okay.
But like what is the point? I get being able to like touch the toilet. It's like it flushes. It's like you touch the hand dryers, I think, in the bathrooms in Max Payne 2. And they
Yeah,
were,
and they
Yeah.
blowing fecal matter literally everywhere.
Everywhere.
But I did not understand the point of having a fully animated piss in a game
Yeah.
like that. It's just something that has stuck with me, and it's unrelated, but the toilets in Max Payne got me thinking about
Not
it.
to go on a tangent, but I've been playing Cyberpunk recently. And the shower mechanic and the mirror mechanic there's literally absolutely no use to them. And they kind of piss me off a little bit because you can just get in the shower and just take a shower.
Yeah.
You don't get
but
like an
the-
EXP boost. There's nothing, like there's no benefit from it. You just do it. And I'm
I
like,
think
well, why?
in games like Cyberpunk and like if
It's immersive.
Yeah, but those are for games that you would like role play in, where you know what I mean. Like I could see people enjoying
that's for
that.
losers.
I was gonna say nerds.
But Heavy Rain, like that's not. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
not a
pretty
game.
It's like a
hilarious.
murder mystery.
You don't,
Yeah.
you're playing as characters. You don't make a little mat
No.
going around in the game. So that would make more sense in like Second Life, more so than it would.
That's funny though.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. After you hold your dead wife in your arms and cry to
sob.
the heavens.
Oh God, please, no, babe, no.
How far did you get in Max Payne 2? Did you notice the reference to that?
Yeah. Yes. So I'm not trying to
Smooth.
I don't have to spoil anything.
No, we'll get to it eventually.
Yes.
Yes.
Why?
The beginning of Max 2 is actually very similar to the beginning of Max 1, which I think is another Remedy thing and very interesting.
You hold your dead wife in your arms, you cry out, and then you're in the DEA. You're going undercover. You're getting in deep and dirty with the local crime families and stuff.
You've got your sweet leopard print button down.
Yeah. Similar to Alan Wake, the guy's got layers.
He's got a lot of
He
layers.
does have layers.
Yeah.
They're a big fan of those jackets.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the guy?
Sam Lake.
This tickles me to no end. Is that as everyone already knows, Max Payne is literally Sam Lake. Like I don't think it's not like body scanning. I think it's just they took a.
It's a photograph.
It's
Yeah.
like you cut out a piece of paper, took like a foam head, and then just like
Just stretched
wrapped
it
the
around.
face around it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's what they did. And that's exactly what it looks like, and it's fucking great.
I really
There's like 5 faces.
Yeah.
And there's no animation.
no.
It's just different frames, for different expressions.
And what I just love so much is that since for people that played Max Payne when it came out or aren't familiar with other titles, that was just Max Payne. That's what the guy looks like. But I started with Alan Wake, and I've watched tons of the behind the scenes stuff. I know who Sam Lake is. I've watched him in interviews. I've watched him in live streams. I have a really good feel for his, on-camera personality and kind of who he is. So to see him as this like PS2 model, fucking dude, he's like this gritty like
like
LA like noir like badass. It's so funny.
went off in my veins. Sam Sahara, you know what I mean? He's like,
And with James,
wife in my arms.
yeah, with being James McCafferty. Is that how you say his name?
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey. His epic, like he's got this really.
McAfee.
Yeah, his.
It's
the McAfee
It's
guy.
McAfee.
Yeah.
It's rest in peace.
He's switching up his career.
Taken too soon.
It's every time I've died, instead of getting angry, I just laugh so hard at Sam Lake, like making a wincing face as he slow-mo blows through the air after a grenade with blood
I
shooting
love
out.
pausing the game.
Yeah.
It's always a treat.
Yeah, he starts playing the theme.
It's just a full circle around him, and he's
I just want to emphasize how much I have enjoyed being Sam Lake as this character.
So you did mention James McCaffrey. Just in case anyone doesn't know, James McCaffrey went on to voice Thomas Zane in Alan Wake
and then Director Trench.
and Director Trench.
In Control.
And I don't think he was in Quantum Break at all, but
bad game.
Yeah.
he was like, I'm not touching that one.
He read the script. He said, "Mm-mm,
Time travel? Not likely.
not believable."
I'm doing Control now.
And James McCaffrey is eventually for Max Payne 3 is the face model. And I did see an interview, I think I mentioned this to you recently, like where they're like, yeah, when we saw him in that role, we were like, oh, of course. I don't know why we didn't do that the first time around, but like
A little ironic because now they're known as the company that like the people that voice the characters also portray the characters.
right. And I saw, I think it was in a making of Quantum Break, or no, it was a making of Control documentary clip style thing. Not documentary, but like, like a making of thing.
Yeah.
They do the facial capture separate from the body capture. So you need to you basically get your face in this little rig and you have to act out the scenes, but you can't move your body at all. So everyone who's acting in Control, when they're running or when experiencing pain or they're winded or something, you know what I mean? And you have to be like, how do I show my body's movement only using my face.
Interesting.
And not to get like too on a tangent or off track at all, but I know in hindsight they could say something like James McCaffrey would have been a better fit right away. Sam Lake just has that early 2000s cool guy look. He's got that Ben Affleck chasing Amy look, you know what I mean? Where it's like very angular jawline, you know what I mean? He's got the high cheekbones.
He's spiked up hair.
He's a handsome guy.
Yeah.
He's not like you know what I mean, like a Brad Pitt or something. But he's a good enough looking guy.
He does well for himself.
So
It totally works.
It does. It's perfect for like putting yourself in. Like in 2021 being like, it's 2001, I'm playing this game. You're like, that's a cool fucking dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a cool guy. Matrix is at its height, you know what I mean? And you're like, yeah.
And I kind of feel like I must be like Sam's family and friends that weren't involved in his creative life, and seeing him as a kid. It's like if I played a game and Jordan Hill.
Sam's family and friends were all in Max Payne.
What?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Really? Like playing other characters, just being like background stuff, or?
Nicole Horn is Max's mother. Alfred Woden is Max's father.
What?
What the fuck?
Really?
Yeah.
Are the character models, because mostly they're in like the comic strips. Is
Yeah.
it
They're all,
them
those are
as
all
well?
photos.
Yeah, I mean, are
That
those
they just kind of like paint
literally
over.
them?
It's literally them.
Oh my god, that's
That's
great.
I didn't know
Because
that.
it was they're kind of like they say it was like a garage band studio.
It
when they
has that
started.
feel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was super DIY, and they were just like, well, we can't do like full animated cutscenes, so what can we do that stylistically looks tight, but also works on our budget, and also, we're not going to hire a bunch of actors.
And I've seen some people are critical of them utilizing that kind of DIY punk thing. Like, let's just fucking do it. Who cares who it is?
I mean, maybe it's my aesthetic, you know what I mean? Like, I'm into
Yeah.
that kind of thing already. Like, outside of Max Payne, I'm into very, like those, like, sketch comedy shows that it's clear that, like, they didn't have a very big budget, like The Mighty Boosh, but it's still, they're putting so much heart into it that it comes out really well, and they're clearly such talented people. Because the comic strip thing is such, I wouldn't even say unique, because it's not a new thing, but it works perfectly.
It does, yeah.
It really works. And
It's, like, would it have been any better if it was Marky Mark playing Max Payne in the comic? No, I think it
No.
would have been maybe
Especially
worse
in that era.
Because it's so cool that it's people that were actually involved.
yeah, and the Vladimir Lem, who we'll talk about later, and Vinny Gognitti are two of the guys from Poets of the Fall.
That's right.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
That's
so, like,
cool as hell.
They were just using who was around. A lot of the other people in the game are developers and programmers that worked at Remedy. So
The police chief was my favorite guy, or the deputy
Bravura.
police chief.
Jim Bravura, yeah.
He's hilarious looking, and he sounds hilarious. He
Yeah.
looks and sounds, he's just great.
He's a perfect police chief.
Eating a fucking sub outside, and he's like, get your fucking ass out here! We're gonna open fire!
Some interesting happens to him right in the beginning of the second game, but we'll get into it.
So, going back, we'll finally talk about the game where you, outside of the prologue, you're in the chapter 1.
20
of the
minutes
game.
in.
Whatever it says down here, this is how long it's been that we were talking about this before getting to the game.
So, you start off in the Roscoe Street subway station. You're told by Agent Beebe, who is one of your higher-ups, it seems, at the DEA, to meet your partner, Alex Balder, and you're like, well, that's a little fishy, because, like, I've been undercover, and Balder and I have not met in person since I went undercover.
Yeah.
And you kind of just battle your way through the subway station to eventually meet Balder. But this subway level fucking rules. Like,
it was
when I
super
first
cool.
played it, I was just like, holy shit. The level design. You even have like a little like escort quest with like the
guy.
the station
maintenance guy or
man,
whatever,
and it's
yeah.
like that didn't suck.
No, that was one thing. There were multiple escort levels, and none of them. I was so like, as soon as it started, I kind of like went like, ugh, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy's gonna get fucking shot as soon as we walk out of this door because he's an idiot on rails. You know what I mean? But
And they will, but like it's usually pretty manageable.
yeah,
Like,
I did though. That first guy, I shot him immediately,
Oh,
and because you can
wasn't
shoot
he in a closet or something? And he's like, I need help.
you can shoot people during cutscenes, in some of them.
An accident?
And if you just pull the trigger, you'll just start shooting during cutscenes.
Oh,
okay.
There's like certain ones. I discovered that we'll get to it later.
I did not notice that.
There's
No,
a glitch
neither
later
did I.
that I ran into where like you can do that. it's very specific cutscenes, not in between things, but when they're like you run into a room and then it cuts to the character models talking to each other.
For like a second.
Often in those scenes you can shoot your weapon.
Still,
in
wow,
the
I
moment.
didn't realize that. Okay.
And I shot and killed him immediately, and you like fail. You know what I mean? It's like you have to reload.
I'm glad
your
it
last
started you
checkpoint.
over, so you weren't just
Yeah.
like going like, what the fuck do I do?
But no, that was just something I noticed.
The subway was really cool. I was almost taken aback by like how brutal it was because you just like walk into that first section and that first platform and
Yeah.
you just start blasting guys. Like they start blasting at you and you just start blasting back at them. And,
Well, and one thing I thought was really cool is when you first start, you can just hear them talking.
oh
yeah,
yeah, there's
like-
a lot of that.
That's something that is in all the Remedy games. Like NPCs are constantly having conversations that will give you a lot of insight into
They're
the story
always
and the
relevant.
world.
I love that
Absolutely.
they're never just. There's a lot of games where they're just standing there and they're like, "Oh, my fucking bitch wife," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, oh my god." But like
Or
this
like-
it's always. You hear names, you know what I mean? Like you hear them talking about Punchinello, you hear them talking about, I can't remember half the names. They were all great, but I can't remember half of them. But you hear them talking about what you're doing in the moment or what's
Yeah.
going on surrounding you.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
There's a one towards the end of the game that's kind of famous from Max Payne where they're talking about bullet time. And
Yeah,
John-
he was
John
like
Woo.
oh yeah, I was a bullet time guy like you until I took a bullet to the knee.
bullet to the knee.
Yeah.
And now he can only shoot dodge. So.
Um,
And then you start blasting those guys. But I don't know if you think if you think violent games make people callous to violence, I would challenge that because I did feel kind of gross. I was like, oh my god, this feels, even though it's like an older game, I was like, this is kind of, I felt like that. Oh man, these people I'm just killing these guys.
it
even though
is
they're
very
criminals.
gritty. It's very like
super
if
gritty.
it doesn't feel like cartoon violence
No.
at all.
No.
So eventually, you make your way through this subway station. There's puzzles here and there. You get acquainted with all the mechanics of the game. You find like the documents and stuff, which it's not the same as in Control or Alan Wake where you pick it up and you read it in a menu, but like
No.
you find a document and it triggers a little cutscene.
Yeah.
And I have seen some people argue like, the action Max Payne is broken up too much by these little cutscenes. But
What? They last like 30 seconds.
yeah, but it breaks up the action.
Well, it's
guess.
also 100% up to you. You don't have to.
A lot of
you
them
can
are
just slam
optional, right?
spacebar and it'll put up all the panels. You don't have
True.
to wait for them to come to you and read through it at your own pace if you want to.
Yeah,
I did that on
I
a
was
couple
curious if
that
you guys thought,
I didn't think it broke up the action. I thought it was good. I thought it was really good for an atmosphere because in the game, obviously, because the limitations they had graphically, you know what I mean? You can't really have a lot going on necessarily in the cutscene other than like, you know what I mean, your basic textures and like character models moving around. So it's nice to have those little cutscenes to kind of set the scene
Yeah.
every so often, you know what I
But
mean? And get you back into it because you're kind of just running and gunning every now and then and you get out of what's happening. And then those bring you back, they ground you for a minute and you're like, okay, I'm doing this this is my dead wife, I'm avenging her, you know what I mean? I gotta kill this fucking all these
Like, oh,
criminals.
yeah, she's dead.
Okay,
Right.
I'm not just some guy running around murdering everyone for fun.
Yeah.
No,
So
yeah,
it's-
it is all very grounding.
They utilize those panels that as if they're a graphic novel. Obviously, that's a large theme, or a comic book, and they use them the same way where it does show macro movements. It shows a exposition. It's no in betweens. There's no just like it's like a big reaction or it's like here's the movement. It's always very poignant.
Yeah.
And it feels like a fucking comic book. It's really well done.
I really liked it. I didn't have any problem with it, honestly.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Cool.
If it was too slow, yeah, you can just press the button
Good.
and it'll all pop
Good.
up.
I'm glad you liked it. So eventually you make your way through and you see Alex Balder and he's like, Max? And he seems confused
Waxy?
that you're there. And you say something about Lupino and he's like, Lupino? What? And he's about to tell you something. A guy comes up and shoots him.
He caps him. He domes him. He gets him
And
right
so
in there.
now-
That guy looked like Adam Savage.
Your cover with the mob is blown. And the police think you shot Balder and you're on the lam, You gotta run out. So essentially, like, you think your end goal is getting to Jack Lupino. You think he's, one of the guys who might be able to, get you some clarity on what's going on with Valkyr.
Yeah.
And your whole motivation is, well, avenging the wife and baby, and from this point on, you kind of like, in part one, you're going up the ranks of the mobsters trying to find Lupino, and I think the first boss fight you kind of get to is Rico Muerte,
Yeah.
who is getting his dick sucked.
Yeah. It's great.
At the bar, was that guy?
I think he owns the bar. Yeah,
Yeah. He's behind the bar, right?
he's behind the bar.
Yeah. And you just see like the.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like I think you can. I think you shoot the woman too.
Oh, she
You
pulls
do.
a gun out on
She
you.
starts
Right.
blasting you.
So,
I,
like-
I had that was jarring to me a little bit too.
Yeah, it was just like pretty graphic sex and violence. You know, like they don't show us Hog getting swallowed, but I mean, they're not.
There's no cum blast, you know what I mean?
No, but you know she.
Get,
what I think
get
is
him. He turns
is-
around, he starts shooting, and then coming at you at the same time.
it's so funny to me in media where
Dodge
like they
roll.
want to like be like let's insinuate blowjob and it's like a girl like standing up wiping her mouth.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I've never seen anyone finish sucking dick and go.
Yeah. Like they just.
Oh, I got it all over my fucking.
So it's always a dainty little. It's like don't where's the sex towel? Come on, let's get realistic. You don't have a
Where's the
bar
old
rag
t-shirt?
there?
Yeah,
a
what's going
sex
on?
towel. Come on.
Come on.
Be an adult.
This was a hard boss the
kicked
first time
my
I did
ass.
it.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
it
damn,
really-
this is fucking brutal. And like,
it's
it
really set
let me
the
know,
tone.
like, okay, this is what I'm in for in terms of difficulty.
And I feel for you that you couldn't get like the shoot dodge mechanic down, because I feel like in those moments where you walk in and it's hard, where I died in a lot of those little boss fights the first time, almost every time. You know what I mean? I'm quick saving the whole game. You know what I mean? I'm smashing F5. I'm just saving everywhere I go so that I don't run into any issues. It's an older game too. I don't want it to crash, so I don't want to
Yeah.
fucking deal with that.
Any
But,
crashes?
No crashes.
I got one.
Yeah.
But I was also.
I had one.
Yeah. I was playing. It was 2-hour session, and I was also I was recording it at the same time. Sometimes that fucks up. Like again, it could even been maybe my PC stuttered. But if I usually try to every hour of gaming, if I'm recording the game, I usually stop it and start another one. Because if you do it for too long, sometimes it just crashes. So I'm
Sorry
assuming
to cut
it
you
was
off,
that.
but
No, it's fine. I just found that the shoot dodge mechanic was really helpful, because when you come back that second time, you have an idea of where everybody is.
Yep.
And so effectively what I do in those scenarios is, like, especially in that one, you effectively like come through the door and I just dive through the door right away. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even mince, you know what I mean? I wouldn't waste any time, because you get shot a couple times and it goes up
You're
your
dead,
little
yeah.
you can take like
your
6
health
hits,
bar.
maybe.
Yeah, it fills up quick though. And at first, like, I didn't realize you could break open all of those things, every box and
I didn't
stuff like
realize that either,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Took me a minute to realize that. And once I did, you find more painkillers. But for the first section of the game, they're a little sparse.
Yeah.
Finding painkillers and stuff. But I'd shoot dodge in and then immediately just boom, 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 boom. I know
Yeah.
who you are. Stand up, shoot dodge again. Boom, 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 boom. And that was how I dealt with most of those like big group assaults.
That makes sense. I did get it a couple times where I died the first time, the second time I was like, okay, I got the perfect strategy.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And I do like that about the game because it lets you kind of like do these action scene, kind of like action movie like style, like
Yeah.
Dude, I had a
you
couple
know,
of those
you can
moments.
just
Yeah.
you know, it's very gratifying
it
to
was super cool.
someone who wants like an action experience in a game.
If you pull
Yeah.
something off, yeah. So the saving in the game, it feels like it can feel a little weird because it does get to the point where, especially like halfway through the game, the difficulty is not. I don't think it ever spikes, but it gets more and more.
It gradually increases for sure
Yeah.
as you get better guns and you get better at it.
But at a
yeah,
certain
because
point-
by the end, I feel like everybody's got like the jackhammers and
Yeah.
like you're
Everybody's
just
got a
fighting like
jackhammer or commando and
Yeah.
they're fucking just blasting you.
If you get hit, you die. Like it almost. It
There's a
gets to the
grenade
point-
coming down every staircase.
Yeah.
You know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I mean? Like, yeah.
It's to the point that the painkillers kind of don't matter because you almost, if you get hit by any of these things, you're dead instantly.
But they also, not to get ahead of ourselves, but they also start giving the enemies in those scenarios painkillers. So it's less when on their bodies, you know what I mean? Not
Oh,
for them
yeah.
to use,
Oh.
but that you can pick up off of their corpses.
True.
Whereas that wasn't as frequent, I noticed, in the early game, but much more frequent in late game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the saving, you got you're constantly slamming F5.
I'd say that's
Fortunately-
true with any older game, though.
Yeah.
Especially when
Yeah.
you're playing a port, you know what I mean? I feel like you should just save. You
Yeah,
should just save,
save
a
a
lot.
lot.
I've gotten into the habit of it.
I did find that I pretty much saved every single room. Every time I
Yeah.
go to the next room, I'd save. And sometimes, and particularly,
The man wants to say something real bad, it seems like.
I'm just thinking. I'm just thinking like you do that because autosave wasn't a thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like autosave, I think has largely replaced quick save, and I think for most games I've played in the last like 3 years, especially, like and in terms of games released in the last like pretty much the last 3 years, I think like 2019, I started noticing like way more forgiving autosaves.
Yes.
Because autosave started, I don't know when, like I think mid 2000s I started seeing it.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And I think by like 2010 it was pretty standard.
Yeah.
It would. I remember it'd be like a thing. People would be like, "Oh, there's no autosave. Like you better fucking remember to save."
Right.
And I still play some like, usually like Japanese RPGs don't have autosave.
Yeah, just only manual.
At least the ones I've played recently. But like I do think that if you're someone used to playing more recent games, going back to older PC games, it does seem egregious, but
It can sometimes be devastating too.
if you do it at the wrong time.
Yeah,
That's what I was
If you
gonna-
don't
that's what I was-
autosave, if you're not constantly saving because you're not in that mindset,
Right.
and then you die, and then you realize that you have to start from the start of the chapter.
I thought you were
know
gonna
what
say if you autosave like.
We'll get to that later for sure.
Those are the two main.
I've
that's-
autosaved at a point that fucked me, but you know the if you were having to actually hit save every time a autosave came up in a modern game, you'd probably feel similar. Where like, wow, I'm saving again.
Yeah,
I'm
it
saving
was
again.
a little bit tedious, but it kind of just became part of my play style a little
It's
bit.
just, you got the hotkeys.
Yeah, where you're going through, and I'm like, okay, I just killed that group of guys, F5. Kill
Yeah.
the next group of guys, F5. You
So
know.
what that trapped me one time, at least one time, and I was going to ask if it happened to you guys. When you are in those more difficult engagements, I was saving in between just getting one enemy dead. Because I
Oh,
you
yeah?
know what I mean? Like I would save.
I think
in
that's up to the
between.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely
Because I was like, I'm
little
having
baby,
such a
but-
hard time. I finally, shit boy baby.
shit pants baby.
You smell that shit?
Yeah, I think your diaper needs a changing.
It says easy mode on it. But, I was saving in between like per kill out of a group of enemies, and one of those times, as I hit F5, I didn't realize that a bullet was coming my way, and that killed me. So anytime that I reverted back to that save, instant death. Fortunately, I had saved regularly.
You do
shortly
have. I noticed
before.
one good thing that they had was there are 2 quick save files at any time.
Yes,
when
that-
you're quick
that
saving,
saved
there's
my
always
ass.
2. So if you go back to manually load the game rather than just right-clicking or smashing F9 or
Oh
whatever,
yeah,
F8,
yeah.
you can go to your load. There's always 2 quick saves because I caught myself in that a couple times where I
Yeah.
just lost a couple minutes. I only ruined my life once.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that later because it's also, I think, collectively probably our least favorite part of the game.
Okay.
But-
Well, we'll get there. So, you fight Rico Muerte. He does get to blast off before
He
you
finishes.
finish.
You don't ruin
But
his
then-
orgasm.
He
But
does?
I'm pretty sure what happens. He's like, yeah, all right, now go for round 2. He's almost like, I think he comes and is immediate like, I want it again.
When you nut and she keeps sucking.
Sounds like
That's what that meme is based on.
Yeah,
It's
it was
based on the
Rico
scene from Max
Very
Payne.
good, it's funny. His name translated would mean pretty much rich death.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's a badass name to have.
I mean, he's a
There's
badass
a lot
guy.
of cool, like the Punchinello crime family. You know what I mean? Like, ugh.
Do you know anyone who gets fucking repeat blowjobs behind a bar and holds a gun? That guy'd have to be a pretty badass.
That'd be a pretty cool guy. Yeah, I wish I could meet somebody like that.
cool guy?
So you do at some point get a mysterious phone call, and you start getting these phone calls like from like payphones and stuff. You don't quite know who's there, but they're giving you some tips, and it seems like you kind of have a little bit of a guardian angel,
They're kind of like, you got to get out of here now. They're on their way. You know, they know.
which is interesting to me because
your fly's been open this entire time.
it seems like in all Remedy games you have like that.
Omniscient
Angel?
outsider.
Yeah. And they always find a way to make it work and to make it, you know, a character that's grounded in the story in some way and isn't just like, no, I mean, you know, it's just like your radio buddy, you know?
Yeah.
I like that, you know, in this game, similar to a Thomas Zane or a Polaris, you have this mysterious voice on the phone who's kind of guiding you.
And when you do learn about that person, it makes sense as to how he would have access to those phones and your
Right.
location. And I'm like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah. So eventually you do track down Vinny Gagniti. You shake him down for information, and he gives you the location of Lupino, which
He's
is
the
in
guy
Br-
with the 6 sunglasses, right?
Yeah. Well,
That's all.
they all have 6 sunglasses, I think.
Well,
lot
he's
of
got
them
like
are
the
in
little
sunglasses.
BB has
circle
those too, I think.
He does, yes.
Yeah.
BB also does.
Yeah.
He looks similar to BB.
Yeah.
This guy. Yeah.
I think he's the... Oh, I'm not going to say. I think he's the bassist or drummer in Poets of the Fall.
Oh, okay.
Can't remember now.
There's like 20 guys in that band. I don't know.
I think there's 5 guys.
Really?
It's a lot.
I think it's like a 2-guitar,
and
bass,
fries.
drum singer,
Yeah. All right.
keyboard.
Xylophone.
They all play xylophone.
Oh, okay.
There's-
They,
there's
they,
the one
they,
guy
they
on
each
the
have one
melodic.
mallet.
Each have one.
Such as a marimba.
Take
Control.
So you go to the Ragnarok nightclub, which, in case you weren't paying attention at this point, I think that even if you don't know anything about Norse mythology, you might be like, Ragnarok, that's like Thor. Because the Marvel movie.
Yeah, because there's a movie called that, yeah.
Yeah.
It just clicked for me when you were reading the intro to this that I was like, why are these fuckers so into Norse mythology? And then you're like, Finnish development studio, Remedy. And I was like, oh, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
That's definitely come up before, and it's just like gone over my head.
I thought they were Swedish. I watched a video.
Yeah, I said Swedish the first time by accident.
It's a reference for all you OG fans.
I like how when I said it, I put up a disclaimer on the video saying, like, I'm sorry, they're Finnish, I said it wrong. And immediately got a comment like, actually, they're not Swedish. It's like, you fucking ass.
Keep it up. Hop down on those comments and just be a shithead, please.
Yeah, go for it. I'm ready for a fucking flame war.
Go off.
But, this should have been very obvious that, they're leaning into the Norse mythology thing.
And even the Valkyr is
Valkyr.
just Valkyrie, or
Right.
apparently Valkyr is a thing, inevitably. But Valkyries, you know what I mean, is part of Norse mythology.
Valkyries, or Alex Balder. You might know Balder.
Oh, yeah.
Is another
From Baldur's Gate, yes.
Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
No, he's another one of the gods we'll touch on the mythology thing later because it comes back time and time again. But this is probably where I think it'd be obvious to even the most basic bitch normie.
Well, and this is when it really gets, I believe, the most, like, they're just straight up direct references to it.
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah, as you go through this next chapter.
pretty much. Well, I think it depends on what your familiarity with the subject matter is.
Fair, yeah.
I mean, they really lean into it hard. Where we'll get into it, but so Lupino has a nightclub, Ragnarok, and you start to realize through context and through conversations with other characters and things you find, this guy's gone insane.
Oh yeah,
and he's a Satanist, and he's high on Valkyr, and Valkyr is a drug that seems to give people like violent hallucinations and superhuman
it's like bath salts
stability.
and PCP.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Among
so,
other effects.
like what?
It's a spoiler, Matt.
Oh. Well, hallucinations, strength.
Concerning the origin of Valkyr. Yeah, it can give people super strength.
Oh, well, I
and
mean, yeah.
beef you out.
We don't need to, spoil the story.
But are there other effects?
What is it? What did you said? That it just
I
gets
said
involved?
hallucinations and like endurance, strength.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he
You
mentioned
got
all
it.
that.
You got it. I thought you were just saying hallucinations.
No, and that's why you can when you go to fight him, he's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah,
and,
you kill everybody else pretty quickly.
and
then
he's taken a lot of bullets.
he's the first boss that you run into that is like kind of more. He can take a
Spongy?
lot more.
Yeah.
He's a bullet sponge, effectively.
Yeah,
Whereas
but-
the other ones take a couple more shots than your standard enemy.
Which
but-
I'm glad they had the Valkyr because because the rest of the game is, I know you go in slow-mo and everything, but it's kind of grounded in reality.
it is pretty grounded, I think.
If you
to a
blast
degree,
a guy, there's a little bit of inconsistency with the weapon damage, but if you get a guy with a shotgun, he's gone. You know what I mean? Like, and that's pretty realistic. So
Yeah,
it
for sure.
makes sense that somebody on this like super drug could survive getting
Yeah.
blasted a little bit more than a regular person.
So the Lupino fight is also where there's almost like a bit of horror in the game
Yeah,
too
it
for the
was
first
cool.
time.
Because there's all these dudes in their black robes kind of dropping down, and like there's that little like sanctum in the middle.
Yeah, it's like going through, and even just going through, I can't remember if it's like a basement or what it is, but when you're walking through, it's kind of like just like the rooms with like the blood on the table, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and all the candles lit.
So like
and
he's
there's
like
this-
done some sort of human sacrifice.
Yeah, like there's like some
Cages.
sacrificial shit going on, and
Yeah.
like the pentagram on the floor, you know what I mean, and like is this when you find? I believe it's when you find there's like the three bodies laying in
Yes.
different positions surrounding, you know what I mean, like this giant symbol on the
I
floor,
think
and you're
that's
like,
the
"Jesus
room.
fucking Christ."
Yeah. And so there's so much tightly packed in here, but I just want to quickly say that this area was when I really started hitting me. That's when I felt like I was watching the original Daredevil, the original Spider-Man. I had that gritty look of movies and TV from that time. But also, when talking about the occult and stuff there, similarly to those experiences that you have in Alan Wake and Control, where they have the big set piece with the musical accompaniment, there's a stage there with the interactive instruments. Did you guys fuck with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty
I like
cool.
that a lot.
Cool.
I kept doing the.
Dude,
Also, like the giant soundboard
Yeah.
with like all the switches, very similar to the giant fucking weird soundboard in Alan Wake.
yeah, and Matt Wake, is that what
Wake.
you?
No, I was saying in Max Payne. It's like,
Yeah, I feel like an idiot because for some reason at that point I wasn't pressing E to interact with those. I thought for some reason I equipped my baseball bat and I was
I
trying
just
to
started
get
to hit and beat the shit out of the drums.
because I thought that would make them make noise and it didn't. And I was like, that's weird. But then I watched a video where you just hit the interact button and it plays just sick really fast.
Yeah. I was really, I mean,
Run.
we talked about it earlier a little bit, but I was hitting interact on most things
Everything.
just to see, you know what I mean?
I got to that point too.
it was just fun little sound effects and animations for stuff.
Even when
Yeah.
you could like clearly see some cabinets were like, you know what I mean, an image, whereas some were like could be opened, I'd still just walk up to them and jiggle them every now and then.
Yeah.
To see.
Also, I do like that when you walk up to doors and try them, like they do like.
It's like,
Yeah. I like that a lot.
yeah,
That helps so much.
because then you don't feel like an idiot. You're like, oh, okay, I can't open this one, and then you
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
going. You're not
But
like, what
it's-
fucking door is
I
it?
don't like when I go to a door and it's like
You just run into it.
It's just
nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of feedback is great. Did you guys like shooting the there were some doors that were just had a padlock on them and you could
Break the padlock.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was sick.
That was so cool. I know it's cheesy.
All those little stuff like that.
But it was just like, I don't know, you just pull out your pistol, blast
It's
the
again
padlock and
the
go
way like
through.
because you see that mechanic a couple other times used in different ways, where like there's like you kind of have to destroy a part of the you know what I mean level or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's another way where I'm like, while they have the same themes and like you said they've been making the same fucking game for 20 years basically.
Right.
They do all these little innovative things or unique things that you're kind of like it makes it stand out and feel like its own thing, even though it's like shooting the lock off of it isn't a cool thing. But in 2001, you know what I mean?
That's pretty
It's
badass,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was similar stuff happened in like GoldenEye. And I
Yeah.
was like, holy shit, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Something that someone pointed out to me online that I didn't take time to mention to you guys was that the sound effect for the shotgun in Max Payne is reused in Control for the shotgun equivalent of the service weapon.
Oh,
I
yeah?
didn't realize that.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So, just a neat little Easter egg.
More
there.
You
than-
lazy bastards over there at Remedy reusing your sound
We really
assets.
nailed the shotgun sound in Max Payne.
I saw footage
were-
too. They went to like the shooting range and like got
They're just
like,
shotguns.
that's cool.
Yeah.
real noises and stuff.
There were some noises specifically that I was like, man, these feel familiar. And I can't give you
I
any
think that
specific
some of the
examples.
noises in Max Payne have been reused in Alan Wake and Control. Besides
Yeah.
just the, I think that at one point in Alan Wake, when you're like, when you go to in the bathroom, I think you hear the pill bottle noise.
They're just shaking.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Before while we're on it, when you mentioned we talking about the breaking the padlocks and stuff, my favorite one is and I don't remember exactly when this happened, but there's an area with a bunch of explosives that you're going through, and it's inside of a building, and you set one off, and I think it kills a guy, and there's a door that you have to go through. There's two doors, and the first one's locked. You're like, all right, I'll go to the other one. You go to the second one, that door's locked, but when you try to activate that second door, all of the wall surrounding the door falls over.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
That was awesome,
That was
dude.
pretty cool.
That's a great part.
I literally I like paused the game and wrote a note. I was like, that's badass. That's hilarious. It's very cool. And that's just that really felt like such a Remedy joke.
Yeah.
Because Max doesn't say anything, but you can just imagine him just being like, all right. You
just another
jump
one,
over
all right,
and keep
whatever.
going.
So after you kill Jack Lupino, who has a Mike Tyson-esque face
Yeah,
tattoo.
he's got a very Mike Tyson
Yeah.
face tattoo.
I think way before Tyson got that tattoo too.
That's where he got the idea.
I wouldn't be
He's
surprised.
a big Max Payne fan.
He said it's his favorite game,
Yeah.
whatever that means. You're at gunpoint. A lady pulls a gun on you, and
That bitch.
you're like, what? Who are you? She's like, I can ask you the same question. It turns out that she is the twin sister of Lisa Punchinello, who is married to Angelo Punchinello, head of the Punchinello crime family. And she has a hit on him. She's taken the contract for a hit that's on him. She's like, look, I'm going after this guy. Looks like you're going after him too. You're climbing up the ranks trying
For
to get to
Angelo.
the... yeah.
Yeah.
You climb up the ranks trying to get to the bottom of whatever you're into. why don't we team up? And so you guys have a drink, some whiskey. She drugs your drink.
That, goodness. Find a nickel. No, yeah.
How dare she?
You could have used it to toss your drink. You know
you
that
could have
trick?
dropped it in. No.
Huh?
If you put a nickel in your drink.
Yeah, that lets you show.
It'll patina immediately.
Yeah.
Wow. It'll crumble and
there's-
turn.
If there's Valkyrie in your drink,
Hypnol.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or if there's Valkyrie.
If you ever taken a drink from a person and you see that it's glowing,
If there's ever a woman holding a gun to your head who offers you a glass of whiskey, drop a nickel in
think
there.
twice. So
She looks like such a goofball in this game.
She does, and it's really, not to be that guy again, but it goes back to Sam Lake being used at Max Payne because, like, that was what a cool guy looked like to nerds. You know what I mean? Like, not to be mean, but to nerds, Sam Lake looks like a cool fucking dude.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like, for people who are like, I've never, seen breasts in real life, and they're like that Sam Lake's a cool guy, a cool looking guy.
He looks
And, like,
cool. I've seen
he's
at least two.
He's not I've seen at least 2 individual breasts.
not on the same person.
No, but she walks in and he's like, the bombshell. You know what I mean? Like, she's,
Yeah.
Oh, the
this is
femme
smoky,
fatale.
femme fatale, smoky bombshell. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's a regular looking lady. Like, she's cute.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
to be, I'm
Is
not,
she
you
like
know, I'm not
this-
trying to be like some girl's fucking, but I'm like, she's just a regular looking person.
Right. She's not like over sexualized
No,
or
there's
over
nothing.
like. But
There's no
she
like.
does have like a very goofy smile in a lot of the
Yeah.
cutscenes.
Do you know who that is? Is that another person associated with Remedy?
I'm sure it is. I can't remember what her name is or what her role is, but
Sam's girlfriend at
she
the time? Or?
she looked to me like she could have been like a mid 2000s SNL cast member.
Yeah,
Kinda,
exactly.
yeah.
Like she was just a very. It's just funny the way that they like put. They're just regular people.
Yeah.
And
Right.
they're putting them
in the
these things
second
and, like,
game. They replace all the character models with
Oh, okay.
ones that are much more appropriate. And they really hypersexualize.
Oh, do they?
Mona's look in that one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll go ahead and say
They
it.
replaced.
she's fucking.
She looks just like.
Spoiler alert. Never mind.
All right.
We'll get there. I gotta play Max Payne 2.
You do. And I will say in Max Payne 2, she looks just like Alice Wake. But Matt, did you say that they replaced all of the character models in Max Payne 2?
Yes.
Even Max Payne's?
Are you gonna get into the dumb shit thing you were talking about earlier?
Well, I just want to say I don't know about nothing about that. But
Yes.
we'll
I don't
cover
know.
that if,
Shit about dick.
when we get into Max Payne 2.
Yeah.
I don't know about.
Yeah, some people might choose to play the game with a mod that makes it look like shit.
Anyway,
Some people might have gotten through the first hour and then realized they made a mistake and started over.
anyway,
So, she doses you with Valkyr, and you experience your first of many Valkyr-induced hallucinations.
yeah, and this is I can
Getting
see
lit.
this first one. So to explain, it goes you. That's the noise that you hear that Max hears. You and you find yourself back in your house, and you're reliving that experience of finding your dead fam.
You are.
It seems like it kind of changes. It goes into like your own paranoias when you're in these scenes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because something that I noticed right away is that it seems as though she's pleading with you not to save her, your wife, that is, but to not kill her. It seems like you're the one who's killing. Clearly Max blames himself for their death. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Right.
But
So his
don't-
guilt allows him to become the killer.
yeah.
But gameplay-wise, in this section, and there's a couple of them, it's more of a exploration platformer. Like there's no combat initially, because like things are a little bit different, and I think you can go interact with the photographs that you were talking about in your house, and Max has something else to say about them, and it recontextualizes everything because he's seen his family again. But you have to do a platforming section towards the end of these experiences. I'm assuming that they're little tiny thin threads. It's very similar. It reminded me of an Ocarina of Time, the ropes that you have to very precariously move down in the Goron village.
You're basically just walking on like the little balance beams all
Yeah.
over the place. And
Yeah,
it's a
made of
it's a-
blood.
made of baby blood
Is it
specifically.
baby blood? I thought they were neurons.
It's you're trying to in
synapses.
every moment when you're following the blood trail, all you can hear is your baby crying for the most part, and
Yeah.
it leads you every time to the crib.
Yeah.
With the corpse.
Ooh,
It's
that's
you're
brutal.
following a trail of baby blood.
That baby has a lot
And
of
something
blood.
I noticed that because we talked about it a little bit before about how like the platforming is not great.
No, it's not great. It's not the worst.
No, because as you were saying, it seems like a lot of third-person platformers at that time, at least, really suffered from this same shortcomings. I guess.
Yeah.
Really.
Especially on PC.
Yeah.
It's platforming on PC had never been incredible.
I noticed a lot of little issues with those hallucination house scenes because in the first one is the
Yeah.
first one where you also do the maze. Mm-hmm. So
I believe so.
something I noticed is when you're in the hallways in those scenes, if you
Oh, okay, yeah.
it's not you're not on rails, but the track is so
Is it
narrow.
like a funnel?
It's kind of like
Kinda?
a funnel where every time you reach like a little intersection of hallways,
Mm-hmm.
if you say you take the turn too tight, you're stuck to the wall the entire time until you reach another turn or something.
Weird. I
And I
didn't
kept
catch
running
that.
into that.
I
I
don't think I
couldn't
did
I
either.
couldn't move back into the middle. It seemed like there was 3 separate tracks in the hallways.
That's very odd.
What may
when
have
you take the
complicated
corner,
it-
you'd have to go down the middle, and you'd thankfully save, but you couldn't get off the wall unless you got to another little
Junction.
intersection, yeah, little junction.
Do maybe Matt, maybe there's a term for this in film, and maybe you're aware of it, but it does that. Is it the dolly long pull? Because there's a visual effect while you're doing this where it makes it look like the hallways are extremely long and everything is squished.
Well, it's like the camera's kind of moving backwards away from you as you're moving forward.
While it's like
It's a
focusing
perspective
and
It plays the perspective a lot. It seems
Yeah.
like, you're moving down an impossibly tiny hallway.
and you're going
Yes.
extremely fast.
Yeah.
To help, and there's a lot of different, like obviously
Going
it's-
really slow, aren't you?
Yeah, what I
Yeah,
was
it's slow
but
motion.
The
Slow motion
walls
for you.
look like they're flying past you because
Yeah,
of the
well, yeah.
perspective.
So the motion perspective is all screwy because you're in a dream.
Yeah, and you're high, but to help,
And also you're high.
I think to help with the platforming,
doggy.
they did slow you down a little bit, and they made your jumps a lot higher.
Right,
and
so yeah,
slower.
you have like the anti-gravity sort of jump, and I mean, it works. It's just not my favorite part of the game,
Not ideal.
but also
Yeah.
it is one of my favorite parts of the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
It's like
the last
no other
one-
action games had that sort of cerebral, like artsy
It's an introspection
bullshit.
about the death of his family. It's
Yeah.
very
I
interesting.
liked it conceptually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was probably
It's the roughest
my
part.
2 most
Yeah.
frustrating moments.
Yeah.
In terms of the actual gameplay.
Yes.
Like just it, and even on my third playthrough of this game, not easy.
Yeah.
It feels like
I goofed a
it's
lot.
a big there's a big dissonance where like it does feel so smooth the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? To suddenly get into this part where you're like, why does this feel fucking bad? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Why does it feel like? And it doesn't feel like it was neglected. It just feels like they were like, shit. How do we? You know what I mean? Like this is hard.
Yeah. But that you could also say that it would be it's a hard thing. Maybe it's
Yeah.
help, like word painting.
Like you said, it was kind of like a burgeoning thing where like people hadn't nailed it. People weren't doing a ton of it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, I think,
So-
in terms of Remedy specifically, like, this is very similar to me, to, I think it was in The Signal or The Writer, in Alan Wake, where you're, like, going through that weird thing where
the
you're
obstacle
like,
course?
the obstacle course thing where, like, everything's shifting, you're going through,
Spinning.
like, the, all the different scenes from the main game, and, like, it's, like, spinning, and
Yeah.
you're, like, in this, like, weird like nightmare revisiting previous scenes
Yeah.
from the game, and then also like in Alan Wake, and I think in one of the DLCs when you're watching TV head Alan
Yeah.
talk to Hartman. I thought it was really cool that Alan Wake kind of like built on that, like, how do we make a character face his own psyche and his own fears,
Yes.
his own guilt in a way that is tangible for the player.
Yeah. I think
Pretty
it's
crazy.
Very interesting. Yeah.
No, I don't think enough games, not that every game needs to have that sort of thing, but I don't think enough games that touch on such devastating subject matter.
Treat it
Do-
like.
Yeah, not to say you have to have like a hallucination or like a
No, but it's-
whoa, I'm actually seeing his thoughts, but something where it's like, does the character feel the weight of their actions or not?
Yeah, because they could have just copped out and had Max in like the cutscene going into like part 2, just be him being like, I blame myself for her death. It was
Yeah.
my fault they were dead. I could
Yeah.
have done something. Like you
Yeah.
could have just had him do that, you know what I mean? And then it would have gotten the idea across. But you would have been like, obviously he does, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Like that's why he's murdering all these fucking people.
It's like,
but
it makes it grueling.
but for
Yeah.
them to like put it into such like a I guess, like you said, a tangible perspective where it feels real, where you're like, it's this man in his house reliving the death, except he's killing them. You know what I mean? That's how deep it is. It's that it's not that he feels it's his fault. He feels he shot them. You know what I mean? Like, he might as well have pulled the trigger.
And I think
There's a-
this is... Sorry?
There's a major main character death in Gears of War 3. I'm sure everyone already knows, but whatever, I won't spoil it. And all that happens to like
He
that.
hasn't shut up about this for 10 years.
It's true. I talk about it a lot. And I thought it was pretty well done, but I think the main person that it affects just has a couple lines later on that just like, it happened, whatever. We gotta keep moving on. It's like, I'm pissed off about it too. And they have a couple tussles, but like, it's so much more bizarrely realistic to go into a fantasy realm and see his, you know what I mean? It makes it feel a lot more
Because
real.
people are, you know what I mean? Realistically, people are guarded, and people aren't just going to be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I fucking, I'm so sad about this
Yeah.
right now, and I can't handle it.
Get you into his real headspace, because that's how, you know, it's more closely to how we deal with grieving than it is to just be
It happens in your subconscious a lot of the time.
angry once or twice. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, that's also different if you're a space marine, which I think the guys in Gears of War are space marines.
No, they're just, it's a different planet, so they're
Almost
like
there.
humans on a different planet, effectively.
yeah.
They're not Earthlings.
No,
No.
it's a planet called Terra. and
I don't
they're
give a
just the things
shit.
of that. Yeah, it's not, it doesn't matter.
Anyway,
I think it's called Sarah.
I
in
guess
Gears
we're
of
all
War.
space
I don't know.
marines in a way.
Are we all?
I think
we're
that's
all-
what I like to
Are we
pretend.
human, or are we space marine?
So, am I evil?
I am man.
I think it's also really interesting if you're keeping track of Remedy tropes. This is the first instance, I believe, in this nightmare scenario where you see yourself shoot your wife.
Yes, I believe in the first one. Yeah, you see yourself.
You know,
do it.
she's like Max, no, and like you're witnessing yourself as the killer.
It may not have been the first one, but you do hear her screaming.
Okay, well either way,
Like,
it's
and asking you not to do something.
Yeah, these nightmare scenes, regardless, introduce the idea of the doppelganger, which is something you'll see in pretty much every Remedy game going forward. You either battle a version of yourself, or you know there's this like other evil version of you that has somehow found its way into reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
And whether it's reality or not, but like
Yeah.
you do actually confront it face to face,
Yeah.
which is something that it's a staple in Remedy games going forward.
Yeah.
But even before that happens in the game, there's that scene. Oh man, I remember it's in that room where you're climbing on a pipe. I don't remember which guy you're fighting. It's very early in the game. It was one of my first notes that I took. You break a window to get into a room, and there's a bunch of guys in there. But there's a TV playing.
It's playing Address Unknown.
It's playing Address Unknown, and it has a pink flamingo, which is a altered item that we're familiar from, and it's not exactly the same, but it's similar to an item in Control. But in that I'm pretty sure it's the first one that you see. In that first episode, there's a guy talking about how he has a doppelganger, and then there's the flamingo that's speaking, and weird. So yeah, they introduced that front and center.
Yeah,
Well,
and that's the
maybe
other
not
thing you'll see
center, but
too in Remedy games, where there's a meta narrative happening in the game that is like an echo or like a twisted mirror
Yeah,
of.
one of the first things you see in Max Payne 2 does something very similar. So it's clear that they have. It's just so cool that they like. Feels like they nailed their first game, and then they set out all their points, and then just kept doing the same shit but making it better.
Yeah, they found a good formula, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then they just started putting different things into the different sections, and they fucking, tweak it a little bit, and they're nailing it still.
Yeah,
It's their second game, but whatever.
right. Their first like narrative driven game though.
It's not a racing game.
Yeah, and they did nail their first game. I mean, Death Rally was a very successful title, especially
Yeah.
for being like a game by a very small team that was
Yeah.
just like a racing game. Like how many fucking racing games are there?
Yeah.
Right.
They definitely they're quality.
Do you guys
So-
like the narrations that we get from Max throughout the game?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that.
really
great.
good, right?
Yeah, I like the inner monologue because it gives it that noir feel a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
big
kinda
time.
have that, yeah.
And again, that's another thing that in all the Remedy games going forward, there's always like, I thought it was really interesting between this and Alan Wake, where in the film noir style, the detective always talks to himself. He's
Yes.
always
Yeah.
narrating the scene. In Alan Wake, it's like, how do they get the character to narrate the story? They do it through the pages.
He's literally writing the story. And then
Yeah.
they do it in
Author.
Control also, but you're speaking to Polaris most of the time. You're
Right.
speaking to
Yeah.
like a voice in your head.
And then
effectively.
in Quantum Break, basically the narrative device is that the game opens up, and I'm not spoiling anything really. It's like the opening seconds of the game. You're telling someone your story, so you're
Okay.
speaking to someone.
Yeah.
So like the character, the lead character in all these Remedy games is always speaking to someone, like always either like recounting a story or narrating it in real time, and they always find like a good functional thing that works with the theme and
Yeah,
style of the
it
game,
fits into the
where
story.
it's like, how many games can have a character like give their own exposition, have it not feel cheap, you know?
And,
Fair.
I find that I think I might be the most entertained by the Max Payne ones so far. Even like the control, everything in Control had me on the edge of my seat. Everything in that game, every time I get a little nugget of information, that little drip, every time I was thrilled. But this was the most entertaining because just the things he fucking says, like
Yeah, it's great writing.
Yeah, it's a little goofier too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a little more tongue in cheek. It feels not that the other games aren't self-aware, but it feels a little more self-aware, and it still feels like you still have that small
A
studio.
little more
feel.
humor in it, yeah.
As
They were clearly younger. You know what I mean? The people
Yes.
who were damn.
As the methane gas escaped my cheeks, it hit my face like a summer breeze. The dogs were barking down the street. They knew what had to be done.
and then like the game keeps going. And you're like, that was sick.
Yeah, it is weird that he talks about smelling his own farts in that scene. But
A lot of weird fart smelling.
when you finally get out of this nightmare scenario, you wake up, you're tied to a chair, and there's a guy who's been beating you with a baseball bat.
Oh,
He
this
gets
is
called away,
It's so cool.
and this fucking rules. This is another thing that they introduce in this game where you lose your inventory. There's no, I think aside from, no, not really. I was going to say, aside from painkillers, but I think even those reset at points. There's no 100% consistent or, what am I trying to say, static, like constant inventory. Like,
Yes, yeah.
Like in all Remedy games, kind of like going forward, it's like, hey, a new chapter, you might lose all your shit. And
Even
it doesn't
in Alan
matter.
Wake, it's like you had to refine like your lantern,
All
you
the
know what I
time.
mean, and you had to find
Yeah.
the shotgun again or the rifle again. And admittedly, it's because story-wise, it makes sense because Max Payne takes place over 3 nights in New York City, and it's assumed that each day is when he's drugged and passes out. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
sleeps through it effectively, sleeps through the daytime, which is why you only really get to see the nighttime scenes. And it makes sense for why you don't have your inventory in each one.
Yeah.
Because in Alan Wake, it's either you've been arrested or you're in the mental institution. You know what
fell
I mean?
off
Or
a
like,
fucking
yeah.
cliff, you know?
Yeah,
like,
so
there's a
obviously you want to
tornado.
have all your shit, you know what I mean? Like, you maybe would have, like, one thing, but...
It's just kind of nice because I do think sometimes inventory management,
Can be a bit much.
yeah, and especially if you're going for a faster pace, like narrative-driven game or even a faster paced action experience.
Yeah.
Like my biggest complaint I think about Resident Evil 5 is I was constantly pausing, moving stuff around, grabbing something, going somewhere, pausing, moving stuff around. Like having to manage inventory. Oh, my partner would pick up something and hand it to me, and
Yeah.
I'd have to stop, rearrange. Like, I don't want to fucking go through menus in an action
No.
game unnecessarily. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes it works great, but
Because I feel like they would have really bogged it down if they had done that, because there is already... You kind of break up the action, not in my opinion, not in a negative way, like you said earlier with the comic strips. And I feel like if they had added more stuff to it, they've really streamlined some stuff in a way where it was like, it's nice that you don't have to be like,
Streamlined,
oh,
yeah.
which guns do I need to have? Which guns do I want to take with me? You know what I mean? Oh,
Yeah,
should I just
for
bring the
sure.
shotgun this time? It's not like, which shotgun should I have? It's like, you can have fucking all the shotguns all the
was
time.
cool,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, you can have every machine gun, you can have every pistol, you know, you can just have them.
Yeah.
You have ammo, you got it.
Just
like,
take
it's
it.
just, yeah, who cares?
You use one or
You got a
two,
big coat,
whatever
you know what I
you
mean?
Yeah, just put
So,
all that shit in there.
you may have noticed earlier in the game you did see like a corpse that had been like tied to a chair and beaten, and near it was a Captain Baseball Bat Boy comic strip.
Yes, that's the
Ripped
calling,
out of a, huh?
that is the calling card of Mr. Lupino.
No.
No.
It's like Jimmy the Bat or something.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
just
okay.
he's just like
he's
a muscle guy.
He's something the Bat.
Oh yeah, the guy that's
The baseball
there
bat guy.
in front of you. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's very obvious.
Yeah, it's just funny that like you you're like, oh, that guy met a nasty fate. And then later you're like, oh shit, now I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And did you notice that the Captain Baseball Bat Boy author is Sammy Waters?
Oh, it's just Sam Lake.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's kind of funny.
I did not notice that. I think he was the voice for a couple things. I think he was the voice for the flamingo. Sam.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. They pitched him up, but I think it's him.
Possibly. I don't know. That's interesting.
We'll have to see.
Interesting.
So basically, he's like, I gotta go, take care of business, but I'll be back to kill you, bitch.
He's like, I gotta fucking take a piss and get a drink.
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
back.
And
There's a lady giving blowjobs out by the bar.
She got shot earlier, but she's back up and running,
ready
and
to
she's
go.
good to go.
She's a trooper.
video game logic, whatever. So you have the bat. So you're tied to the chair. You break out. You break free.
You're like
You have the bat.
you're a badass police officer. Like
Right.
You're Max Payne.
you busted out.
Even
of the
he
chair.
told that a nice little thing I noticed too, where it's the self-awareness and the humor, is that Jimmy the Bat or whatever. His name isn't Jimmy the Bat. It's like his name's like Francis. You know what I mean, or something like that. It's not a tough name. You know what I mean? And so he says that too. He's like, I envy your name. Wish I had a, or something like that
Oh,
along the
yeah,
lines.
I
Like, wish I had a
remember
name like yours, Max Payne. That's a cool fucking name, dog.
It's Frankie the Bat Niagara.
That's what Frankie Niagara, which is
Yeah.
like not a scary name at all. You're
Frankie
like Frankie
Niagara.
Niagara. You know what I mean? I sell
Yeah.
air conditioners. You know what I mean? Like,
I murder men with a big piece of wood.
exactly. And he has like a baby face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very,
Yeah, but this part, like, this is the opening of part 2 after the prologue where you're in the nightmare. I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like, and it's called The Bat is the chapter.
Yep.
Or the baseball bat. It's called,
Big bat.
is it called The Bat?
Big
It's
bat
something
chapter.
like that. I don't want to pull up. You know what I mean?
I remember
My phone
something.
through shit.
I think
It
was
is The Baseball Bat.
Oh.
Bring me the bat. So, it's, that's what he says.
yeah, he says that.
Frankie Niagara is. Bring me the bat.
Bring me the bat. So he's beating the shit out of you. He leaves. You get out of the chair. You stand up, and you're like, well, I got this bat. And then there's just like a hallway full of guys, and you got to kind of like sneak in and then
That was hard.
whack one of the guys, grab their gun, and then get ready because there's a lot more guys coming to you.
Yeah.
I thought this was so fucking cool.
That
I thought it was really
badass.
cool. It was also, this was probably I died the most
Died
trying to
a
do
lot.
this.
It's a really hard part because you are completely powerless. I think you
Yeah.
have low health already, and you can find
Yeah.
some
There's 2 painkillers in like a
painkillers
cabinet
nearby.
right next to you. I found an exploit
you're
though,
right.
for any of you gamers out there who also struggle with this part. If you wait, because you can't alert them until a certain point. Right away, you can pretty much just like walk up right behind them up until they kind of hit that corner. The guys on the right. If you alert them and then you run back into the room, they'll all stop right on the door to start shooting at you before they
Yeah.
come through. So if you stand by the door, I just stood there and I
That's
just
what I
kept
did.
swinging the bat.
You cheeky
And as they ran
bastards.
up, the guy would run up and he'd die, and I'd pick up his gun. I died a few times too, and I had to go into settings and switch off auto switch weapon because you'll immediately
'cause it
switch to
would-
whatever
Yes.
weapon you picked
Yeah.
up.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yes.
That was so frustrating for me. Where I
I
was
was
like,
kinda
I was
like, that's
swinging, and I was
gotta
like, I was like, no, I
I
didn't
was like,
want to do
that's
that.
got to
Yeah.
be a setting because you'd run out of ammo so quickly. Or
Right.
you'd just have to stop to reload, and then they
That's the
Yeah,
other
big
thing is
blast.
four guys would get one shot off.
the
and
guns
you're
don't have a
dead.
ton of ammo when you're first getting them.
No.
So, yeah, this part is like a survival action kind of
Yeah.
scene. And I got to say, the animation of Max, if you just hold
Swinging
swing
that
on the
bat.
bat, it's
Holy
hilarious.
shit,
Yeah, it's
dude.
great.
It's one of the
Like,
funniest fucking things.
We should cut it in
Like,
here
please
real
cut it
quick
in,
if we
but, like,
can.
it's literally like
Yeah, it's full body.
But it's that, but it's like at like 4 times the speed.
Oh, yeah, it's so
super
quick.
fast. That probably sounded terrible on my mic. I'm sorry, but I would do
Fix your
that
hair
just.
again.
Oh, thanks. I want to look my best. I would just do that with the bat at some point, and it would make me laugh. What happened?
Nothing.
I touched your hair and then I pretended to be a pervert about it.
Oh, okay.
At Matt's suggestion.
All right. Well, I
touch
touched
my
your
fucking
foot
feet, you
'cause
goddamn fetishist.
I'm also a pervert.
Sexual
lot-
tension in here is
got a lot.
getting fucking.
I'm about to burst. So
Yeah,
the
I,
bat
I, I,
animation
I,
funny
would,
with
I
the
would
bat.
just like go like swing the bat across like a row of boxes and
Yeah,
stuff, and I just thought it was fucking hilarious.
I would laugh. This game made me laugh a lot.
I wanted so badly to talk to somebody about this when I played this like a year ago, and was like, "Oh my god,
like-
this bat is so fucking funny." I can't tell anyone about
Me
this.
with Control when I was like, either you guys squat and then spin really quick because it's hilarious. Because you'll just like find a center of gravity and pivot on that, so you're just spinning endlessly.
That's why I would do that in the Ascent a lot.
Oh yeah.
It was fun.
So you get through this. Eventually, you find your way to the outside of the building, and you notice a car is trailing you. Mm-hmm. In the car, beep beep, it's the singer of Old Gods of Asgard. It's Vladimir Lem.
Oh,
It's the singer of Poets of the Fall.
Oh, and that's
He's a pretty big looking guy too. He's a beefy looking dude.
I think that's Seresto is his last name. That could be
Marco
wrong. Yes.
Sarsto.
Yes.
Sinestro.
I didn't realize that was him.
Marco Sinestro.
Is that the blonde guy with the glasses?
No, he's the bald guy in the beanie.
I don't recall him visually.
You don't remember seeing the Vlad?
Oh yeah, duh.
Cheese and rice, dude.
Man,
I was gonna say.
blowing it. I was
you're
thinking
good.
of somebody else. Of course, I remember Vlad.
Yeah.
He's a cool guy.
Beefy
Well, that's the
dude,
singer.
turtleneck.
That's the singer of Poets of the
So
Fall.
I remember that. I feel extra dumb because I remember seeing that guy. I'm like, he's familiar.
He's got such a little baby face.
He
like
does
he's
have a little baby face.
it's very like as soon as I saw a picture of the singer and it was a picture from 20 years later, I was like, oh,
Yeah, same guy.
that is him.
Yeah.
like through and through.
That's so because I intended on looking because I knew they had a lot of the Poets of the Fall were in that game as well.
And it's before they were even a band. I mean, they were playing music together, but they were just Sam Lake's
they weren't,
friends.
established.
Yeah.
That's cool. I remember thinking he looked familiar, but then just dropping that thought and continuing.
Drop that thought.
I dropped the thought, and then I started listening to Carnival of Rust.
So, why my pant leg is that high up? He basically says look, you're trying to go after Punchinello.
Your other pant leg is all the way up too.
I'll fix it eventually.
Okay.
You're trying to go after Punchinello. He has a cargo ship, the Karen. Right? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, you'd pronounce Karen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's fucking nerds out there that are gonna be like,
Sharon.
Yeah.
from Greek pronunciation or whatever, and I'm
Yeah.
like, fucking shut up.
Which
you know what
is-
I mean? It's Karen.
But it's isn't that essentially the boat that you take to
Ferries
hell?
you through Hades. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not Norse mythology,
No,
because that's
No?
that's Greek mythology.
that's Greek mythology. yeah.
But isn't there a lot of crossover?
There could be overlap.
I
There's
do
a
think-
fair point that there could
because
be overlap.
I thought that the boat.
He could just be the ferryman.
I thought the boat in Greek mythology was called something differently.
The boat might have been called something else. Sharon was the ferryman.
Right.
In Greek mythology.
Yeah.
So maybe
you're right.
Karen is the boat in Norse mythology, or maybe he's just a character that's, you know what I mean? Like you said, there's a lot of overlap.
There's a lot
in
of
religion
overlap.
and mythologies. So
Yeah.
it's like
So anyway,
fake.
There's. You know what's caused more deaths than anything else in human history?
Ooh. Old age.
Religion.
Oh,
So he's like, I had this cargo ship. The crew has pledged allegiance to the Punchinellos. If you go in there, get this ship back for me, I'll give you a crazy arsenal of weapons so you can go and do the deed. Mm-hmm. And you go, fine.
And
Fine.
you said,
I'll fucking do it.
and then Max says, "You lift my spirits, lift me high above the sky."
It's funny too that he's like, well, I'm not really a cop anymore. I guess I'll make a deal with this fucking Russian mobster.
Yeah, well, he
Yeah.
kind of justifies it to himself though at the same time, where he's like, he says something along the lines of Vladimir is he's an old school criminal who still has a set of morals that he works by.
Yeah.
Which he effectively says something along the lines of, which doesn't really make him any worse than anybody else. You know what I mean? More or less, he's like, I guess it doesn't make him any worse than me right now. You know,
Yeah.
we're on the same level at this point. Is kind of where he's reached. There's a self-awareness in Max the whole game where he's not under some delusion that he's this hero figure.
No, not at
Which
all.
I think is good. It's a very Punisher-esque kind of idea.
Totally.
Where he knows he's not a hero. He's like, I'm just fuck, because he mentions too when he kills Lupino that he's like, I killed the wrong guy here.
Yeah.
He's like, I got so clouded by my anger and my desire for vengeance that I just killed a guy because I needed to kill somebody, and I thought I didn't do my due diligence, basically, to find out if he was really the one. So he kind of like, he has this theme the whole time where he's like, I'm just as bad as these people. At the end, I've become as bad as these people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Thought it was interesting.
It is. There's a lot about like ethics and morality and,
Yeah.
and like...
And even when you come across like
Guilt.
the news segments and the radio things where like... There's a fucking... it's a fruit fly. It's
I
a,
couldn't even see it.
I saw it. I swear it was real.
I'm not crazy. I'm not on Valkyr. Shit. Lost my train of thought.
The news reports about Max
Yes,
Payne, the
where
fugitive.
even they have like the similar, it's like the Batman idea too, where it's like, there's the people calling, they're like, he's got to be stopped, you know what I mean? He's a menace. And then people are like, well, he's cleaning up the streets, he's doing your job,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He's doing your job for you.
But then
And, yeah.
Max, I don't know if he ever says anything like this, but it's like every single guy that he killed, they're all criminals, but did they deserve to be killed? You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
Like,
no, he's very like, he does not like,
maybe that was his first day in the mob, you know?
yeah, like
He
I
hasn't
said,
done
it's like,
anything
he
yet.
was like, he in no way views himself as like the good guy here.
For sure.
Or the hero. He's just
No.
like, I want to fucking kill these people because they deserve to die.
It's a suicide mission, and it is back. I did I did see it.
I don't see it at all.
So,
I'm
Just
afraid.
go back over. It's just a fruit fly.
I-
An interloper.
And this is my own fault for not making better notes. Is it when you're going through the shipyard that you do like the sniper rifle section?
Yes.
Okay, so
Hell
this
yeah.
this was a really, I thought this was one of my favorite parts of the game was these like 2 chapters, because before you get to the shipyard, well, you get to the shipyard before you get to the ship, and it's when you get the sniper rifle and you're interacting with all the big like mobile cranes and
Yeah,
stuff.
the
moving
cranes,
between,
there's like
the
giant shipping containers
Yeah.
everywhere.
So fucking cool. This is a very
This
cool
part
set
rules.
piece.
So this is one of the parts I think you were talking about where I got stuck. I'm like, how do I get past this? There's like a gate locking me out of the next area, and then you look.
Oh,
there's a
this is
truck with like a little wedge underneath the tire,
Yeah.
holding it in
Preventing
place.
Preventing it from sliding.
It took me a little bit longer
did,
than
yeah.
I want to admit to
Yeah.
have figured that out. And I go, wait a minute, what's that?
That one I picked up on pretty quick. There was other ones that I did not pick up on quickly, you know what I mean, later in the game. But that one I noticed pretty quick because I was like, you hear something, there's a hint to it beforehand.
See,
There's-
and I didn't notice that. I was probably
Oh, okay.
listening to a podcast or something.
Yeah, there's somebody says something along the lines, or there's a sign on the wall or something, I believe. That's
There's a
like,
sign
on the wall.
there's a sign on the wall that's like, please put blocks behind trucks so they don't roll. Effectively, is like what it says.
I think there was a dialogue thing between 2
Yeah.
enemies that said something about the trucks and like
The
just-
truck rolling.
Yeah,
or
there's like
something
2
that
guys
would
like talking right there. They're
Yeah.
talking about like I think they're talking about a woman being overweight
yeah,
at that part. To my memory.
classic tales old as time.
Yeah, pretty good.
This whole part fucking rules.
It was
Yeah.
super cool. I love killing anyone with the sniper.
the sniper right, and like you're like on like the it's like a crane thing.
Yeah.
It's on like a track. I don't know how realistic that is, but
Yeah, I think it's
there's like watchtowers basically all
Yeah.
throughout, and you're like sniping guys on the watchtowers.
Yeah, that
I
was
loved
cool.
I loved like there's the one scene where like you said, there's the watchtowers. It's towards the end of that chapter where you're going through the shipping yard before you get to the boat, where you have to kind of like direct it forward
That was
and then
so
left
sick.
and forward, and like you're
Oh.
coming in like you gotta like wait till they're like right in your angle, and then it fucking and it's like doof.
I
It
have
was so fucking cool.
I have a
It
tinfoil
felt
hat.
unnecessary, but it was really cool.
Loved it.
I have a tinfoil hat conspiracy about this.
Okay.
So there's that one section where I don't know what any of these the vehicles are called. I don't know what the vehicles are called to manipulate.
A car.
That's what it's been.
You're talking about the cranes?
Yes, the cranes that are used to manipulate the boxes. A quick aside here. A couple days ago at my job, I literally asked a coworker. I said, what are the names of those sheets that you put in the dryer? Dryer sheets. So I'm just a very stupid person. So I don't know what these things are called. But do you guys remember those? I think there's 2 sequences where there's a like long corridor between shipping containers on either side of you, and they have those large kind of yellow machines that do something. They're very long-legged, and they get turned on, and they have like a load at the bottom, and they're just gonna smash
crane.
you.
That's what we've been. Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
the one where you have to move out of the way a couple times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Did you get annihilated by that?
I got
No.
fucked by that thing.
Hilarious.
It's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, because you the first one, it's like you go up to the shipping container, and you're like you will just stay in there. The reality is because there's stuff to collect, and I think there's a quick little cutscene in there or whatever.
It's a good trap, yeah.
But then I didn't the first time I knew it was moving, but I didn't really think about it, and I turned around and immediately left. And the moment my head left the shipping container, it just got clipped by it.
Yeah.
And it's just
wow.
Sam ugh, you know what I mean? Like collapses to the ground.
I gotta say, we've touched on it earlier, but just anytime I died, I'd start to get mad because I'm like, fuck, I died. But just watching Sam make his face,
it was also hilarious.
Slow-mo, blood shooting out. So my crazy theory, those are piloted by a driver, a criminal guy up top. I'm wrong.
Okay.
If you blast the guy, I was going to say, if you blast that guy that's piloting it, the machine still comes at you. And I was going to say, maybe that's some sort of connection to the vehicles and stuff in Alan Wake that are, evil and possessed.
Oh.
No,
But
there
if you
wasn't.
just put something in drive, it'll keep going even if the pilot is dead.
One thing that was
It happens in heavy rain.
Really?
It does. It literally, you were at a junkyard, and there's a crane that's used to pick up the cars and put them in the crusher, and the guy's in it, he's driving towards you, and he jumps out, and you
it
are
still
both
goes.
battling as it's coming at you.
Oh, sweet.
That's pretty badass. I
well,
know there's
then
combat in that game.
Oh, yeah.
That was a little bit of a relief in Max Payne. Not that it was not that it was something I didn't like in Alan Wake and Control, but it was a little less mentally taxing. There's no broad supernatural or you know what I mean, paranatural or whatever.
Closest thing is Jack Lupino, who's just insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's just a crazy. He's trying to get into it with he's got the Necronomicon.
I
He's got all
expected
these,
him to float up into the air like somebody from fucking Control and start attacking me.
But no, he's just a crazy person. But it never really. I mean, and I can't speak for the series. You know what I mean? I don't know where it leads.
It stays very grounded.
Yeah, but it's the first one where it's very much there's none of that weird shit going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what
Did
I
you
mean?
guys fall in the water at all?
I don't think
No,
I
so.
don't think I did. No.
Going
You just
back
die.
to you die, but I accidentally shoot dodged into it one time.
Oh yeah.
So I really super slow-mo fell into the water, and as I did, it makes that pained face. It goes slow-mo, it plays the sad music, and blood shoots out.
See, it's the water.
So, just because we keep talking about the deaths and slow-mo and stuff, did you notice that when you shoot the last guy, usually there's the camera does a little pull and
Yeah.
pan
Yeah.
and
Little zoom
do you remember
in.
that from Alan Wake?
Yes, yeah, they
It's the
did do
same
that.
thing when you shoot the last guy in a combat scenario. The camera
it goes
does a little,
You get to see your bullet go out him and fucking.
and it's
yeah.
it's way more exaggerated in Max Payne, but Alan Wake does the same pull back and
yeah,
circle kind of pan.
because I think you're kept in the field of view in Alan Wake when you
Yeah.
do it, whereas Max Payne it just goes to
You get
It
lost.
does
there's
the
one-
Skyrim camera.
coming up. There's something I want to talk about coming up relating to that.
you're gonna
but
have to
I don't
wait,
want
Jordan.
It's literally 2 chapters ahead of this.
Well, so basically, you
I swear to fuck
We're
God.
strictly
you-
on schedule.
you finish up at the boat, you get one of every weapon and
Yeah,
full
you
ammo.
fucking load up.
Is this
dog.
when you finally first get the Colt, whatever the whatever
commando, the Colt commando?
Yeah.
Fuck, I love that gun.
Yeah,
It's so
I
good.
use that's one I use the most.
Up until
Yeah.
then, what were you guys using the most?
Berettas.
The Berettas, man.
I was switching pretty often between the Berettas and the pump action shotgun. When I
no,
couldn't,
you're right,
just
yeah.
only when I couldn't find ammo for the Berettas, because with the Ingrams I noticed you can't ever find a ton of ammo and it uses a lot
No,
of
you're-
ammo.
Yeah,
Empty those
Pretty much like
clips.
anytime you kill one guy, you're guaranteed to have used 100 rounds, and you
Those
only have
were
300.
Those were.
I tried to short burst and it didn't really
It doesn't
help.
help at all, no.
The Uzis were absolutely a desperation. Like if I was like, I can't fucking do this. Somebody's trying to break down the door. But yeah, I'd shoot dodge and just unload.
Yeah.
My clips to try to just.
Those are
get
usually
something
I'm
done.
out of ammo for my Colt Commando right now, and
Yeah.
I'm at high level enemies, so I need to
Yeah.
just fucking unload into them.
Little
real
spray
quick.
and pray.
Yeah.
But you contact Punchinello. You set up a meeting at a restaurant that he owns.
Yes.
You know my restaurant? 3:00.
This
No,
fucking
that's, not for me.
rules.
Yeah.
This part is so fucking crazy.
This was a really cool part.
And this has one of my, we'll get to, one of my favorite mechanics that is lost on games now, in games like this, that we'll get to in a minute.
Well, you show up, nothing's going on.
It's empty.
It's a trap. The building is set to explode, and you need to rush through
Yeah.
a building that's on fire as and it's all kitchen equipment. You're going through the back of a kitchen. It's like a big
You're,
industrial
vaulting
kitchen.
over benches
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's imagine a big, nice restaurant full of facilities. somebody is just like dragging a corpse down the stairs and then they're disposing of it outside. There's just like, compressors and like tanks and shit just exploding as you're going through. It's so high tension. It's such like an action movie thing, and it's not incredibly intuitive in terms of like video game path. It's like, hey, what would really make sense here?
Yeah,
like you need to actually think about what you're doing, and it's a thing I really like. It kind of is similar to blowing the truck, blowing the wedge out from under the truck's tire. It's just like a certain level of realism to these things where it's not operating solely on video game logic, even though it is a very like improbable situation.
Right.
It still is like, well, what would make sense realistically?
In this scenario, what would you do?
Yeah.
So in our very first episode of I've Played, which Jordan was not a part of, we did Senua. Hellblade.
Hellblade Senua. Senua's Hellblade Adventure.
Sacrifice Senua.
By Ninja Team was the company, and I was really critical of a part where you're with fire, and because
Ninja Team?
Yeah,
it's a terrible name.
They're called Team Ninja.
No, I think you're right. It's Ninja.
Is it Ninja Team?
You just thought it was.
I was joking because we were saying the name wrong as well. Let's look it up.
It's Ninja
Theory.
Ninja Theory.
Ninja Theory. Sorry, Ninja.
Also dumb.
Sorry to the Ninja
Also
Theory.
bad name. Bad name.
Also great developers, though.
Great developers. I'd like to apologize to the
Bad
Ninja
name.
Theory team for getting their name wrong. But I was critical of a part where you're on fire and there's fire obstacles because it was...
Oh, yeah.
You had
Very
to-
similar scene.
It was, but the way they do it is fundamentally different. And in Senua's, you kind of have to just get to a point, and then you're safe, because you are actively on fire. So it's a little bit different.
You're not,
but
though.
You're not actively on fire. In some of them.
You think you are, but it's a hallucination.
You're right, and you just have to get to a specific point while dodging obstacles.
Right.
But I kind of like how they did this in Max Payne a lot more because it engaged my brain because it wasn't just like veer left, bear right. I was like, oh, that, and similar to like how you're talking about the on path thing of the maze section. Yeah, Senua's was kind of like that. It would like funnel you and like, oh, you can't go that way. But in this, it was like, no, you can go wherever you want. You're gonna fucking die if you go to the wrong spot, though.
Yeah.
And
The moment you touch fire at any point in this game, you just touch
cooked.
fire and
And I like that there was like
a lot of fire.
At one point, you have to jump over a
countertop, like an island.
Doesn't really look like you can.
Yeah.
It's something you have to experiment with, but it didn't let you die enough times for it to be frustrating. I thought that was a great, high, like you said, high energy. My blood was pumping.
it leads to one of my favorite parts of the game. And it's a really small thing, and so it's dumb that it's like my favorite thing.
Is this the right time to talk about this, Matt?
It is.
Where you go to the sewer?
It's right before you go to the sewer. It's still as you're exiting the restaurant, because you have to fight a few enemies before you leave the restaurant.
Right.
You come across a guard and you go upstairs, and then you have to go back downstairs.
Okay.
And to get to the sewer. And you go upstairs, and there's a point where you fight a few guys, and there's like a dumbwaiter on the wall. And what you can do is like, if you just want to, you know what I mean? If you don't have a big fucking brain like we do.
What's a dumbwaiter? If you're
A dumbwaiter is
like us?
a dumbwaiter is like a tiny elevator that goes in your wall for like people to like send stuff up.
I saw this, but I didn't know what function it had.
All right.
I mean, I do know what function it had, actually.
It moves
it's reminiscent
up or down.
of like Grand Theft Auto like 3. You know what I mean? And like
Home Alone.
Yeah, and Home Alone. But like the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, where it's like there's more than one way to finish a mission. You know what I mean? It's like you come to this place, you have to kill this guy, but if you've come there and you failed it, and you know the path he's going to be on, you can block it with cars ahead of time. You know what I mean? Then go activate the mission, it'll hit all the cars, and you blow them all up, and he dies. Rather than like waiting for him to get from point A to point B and then fighting him where it's scripted, you know what I mean? And it'll be like mission complete.
All right.
And so it's kind of like if you're just running through like you have been for most of the game, you'll just go right down the stairs, and you get downstairs, and there's like 3 or 4 guys just kind of standing in a circle who will blast you like the moment you get down the stairs. But I saw the dumbwaiter, and I was like,
No.
huh. I fucking just hucked a grenade in there. You hear it bounce down, and then it blows up, and it did to the cut thing where they're all like, and they're all blowing up because I've killed everybody.
That's
and
awesome.
I run downstairs, and the dumbwaiter's like right in front of where all their bodies are, and I'm like,
so
awesome.
sick.
it's so cool to just. I love that. It feels like it's lost now because they want you to kind of be so on, even in open world games, where you really just have one option to complete a mission. You know what I mean? Even though you can be like, oh, you can say whatever you want. You know what I mean? Or you can kill or not kill these people. there's only one way to do it, and I like that there was that. It's present in this game that you can kind of figure out your own way to get through everything.
It's very similar, and like I think that's like mostly like Deus Ex or Cyberpunk, like immersive sim type games allow you to do that. It is kind of lost in like action games.
Yeah, but that was like I that's my longest note that I made because I went off for like a fucking like 20 minutes in real time at
Here's
home about Grand Theft
why
Auto also.
I'm the smartest guy.
That's
I
fucking
just thought
cool.
it was cool,
That
and it was a really interesting feature.
And that's
that I thought
super
was-
sick because I remember seeing the bottom one and I saw that the door was flapping a little bit and I was like, that's weird. Maybe it's just like, I was like, maybe the physics are weird on this thing and I just kept going.
And I
That was
only
after
really
I killed
noticed
the
it because I
guys.
was doing that shit where I was interacting with everything, where I was running up to everything and smashing E, you know what I mean, to see if it made a noise or there's some cool Foley effect.
Speaking of the arcade grenade,
Arcade grenade.
I love the grenades in this game. I don't usually like grenades in games. I feel like often they're like the throw mechanics weird, or like sometimes like
Yeah.
the timing is so strange where it's like, but you throw it and enemies just clear the area and
And
I
then it
don't know.
blows up, yeah.
Yeah. But the grenades in Max Payne, pretty good.
Even once you
Yeah.
get the M79, when you get the grenade launcher too,
Yeah.
that's like that was like a crutch for me.
Totally.
You know what I mean? If you're like, fuck, these three guys keep overwhelming me, I just quick load and then shoot dodge and
Yeah.
fucking boom,
Yeah.
blow all of them up, and I'm like, cool. I can
Grenades
just
feel
keep
great.
going.
Explosions feel great.
They're
They
pretty
do, they're very
intuitive.
satisfying.
Good arc. Easy to aim.
And they were solid. Like I mean, like you could make sense of the physics in your head.
Yeah.
Where like
Quickly.
there's a scene that comes up later where you're in like an office space.
Yeah.
And I did a similar thing where it's
Yeah.
There's like the cubicles all
yeah,
over.
and you can again do the same thing where like if you know where they are because you've died previously, I was like, So I ricocheted a couple grenades like off the ceiling on the other sides of the
Yeah.
cubicles and killed the people before I came up to them. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
like-
And
That
it
was cool.
I feel like it might be in Terminator 2 or in Die Hard, but like the office in the dark with the cubicles, like it's such a like a thing I've seen in like action movies, like
Yeah.
that trope, and it totally works as like a little level in Max Payne, just like a
Yeah.
little vignette. Because there's like, I don't know if we really discussed it, but the way the action is presented in Max Payne is kind of like small scenes. You
Yes.
know, it's like every it might even in a building, like one floor or one like group of rooms is like kind of like one little scene
Yeah.
before you go to the next scene, and each one does have like a pretty distinct feel. I remember in my initial review of this game for Have You Played, that came out earlier this year, I mentioned just like how I was really impressed by the level design and how all the buildings felt real and the construction and navigation of them just made total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that I praised Control for. I felt like it was the pinnacle. Like there was bathrooms in places that there would be. And obviously Control, you know, the oldest house has shifts, which would justify if something was in the wrong spot. But even playing Max Payne, I think it's just a Remedy thing. They
Yeah.
every
They have a
place
lot of
felt
little
pretty-
realism. There's like little things too that I love.
Felt
like
pretty real.
More toilet humor, but like occasionally when you're in a couple of like the mob hideouts, like you'll come across a guy like a mobster sitting on the toilet with like a dirty mag,
yeah.
and you walk in
Yeah.
the bathroom, he's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he's, you know what I mean, and then
Yeah.
you fucking blast him, and he hits and he's got his like pants down with a porn mag on the
Yeah,
ground. And
giant
it's,
erection.
Yo,
Yeah.
huge, like big.
And
pushing through.
disturbing, really, honestly, because I didn't really, I don't know.
I didn't come into Max Payne wanting or anticipating, you know,
Yeah, I get that.
rock hard.
No, yeah,
Talk.
it's just some, you know, I don't mind seeing it. It's just seeing it when I don't expect it. It's kind of like what's uncomfortable for
So give me
me.
a heads up,
Yeah.
figuratively and literally.
All right.
So anyway, interactions
Andrew's
aside,
uncomfortable.
Glad we agree on a lot of things. I think
Yeah, so then you go. Sorry.
I found the guy on the toilet, and we need to talk about the Valkyr addicts. We've neglected to mention.
Oh, we
that.
did skip
okay. Well,
over
before we
that.
get too far, let's talk about the Valkyr addicts.
The addicts. The sound.
they're
effects,
hallucinating.
They're hallucinating actively.
They're talking, and you can hear they're tweaking
a
out.
lot of the voice effects that enemies have when they're both engaging you, they're kind of hilarious. A lot of them. There's a lot of just
It's
regular,
everything's like fucking dialed into 10. It's
Yeah.
just super over the top, obnoxious.
like a silly example I had with one of just the regular enemies when he was on the toilet, like, and I busted in. He said something like, "Wait a minute," and I blasted him. But Did you want to tell us about the
Oh,
Valkyr addicts?
I just brought it up to you guys because I was curious if you also did it. And I was glad to find that I wasn't the only one with hatred in my
let's-
heart.
I just murdered them all for no good
Yeah,
I was
reason.
it
gonna
was-
say, if we bring it back to control, Jordan was the one that
I was the one who just
murdered
immediately started blasting the floating office people.
because he didn't like the sound of the it
was annoying.
of the chant.
I also shot all of them.
Yeah.
Yikes! I did not. I was a good boy. I intentionally avoided them.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna
you
get on
discovered
another.
something when you murdered.
Yeah, I'm gonna get on another small side tangent after this. That was a cool Easter egg that I didn't experience, but I read about. You don't have to interact with them. Period.
No,
you can just
some of
pass
them will
right by
attack you. Almost none of them will, though.
Yeah,
There's
and
like
it seems almost like it's scripted when they do attack you.
Yeah.
Because there's like more. It's just chaotic, and suddenly they just start shooting.
yeah, but a lot of them will just
Yeah.
completely ignore
And
you.
if you do shoot them, they all have a gun that they'll pull on you. But when you kill them, it's like one of the most like brutal like death screams. Like
also
it's like
really silly.
It's also
we'll
hilarious.
play it
yeah.
right here.
Rough though. It's like it's jarring. And it's also hilarious, you know what I mean?
very
And
funny,
I like that
especially
when I
if you get-
messaged you guys about it, you were just like, yeah, I killed them immediately just to be cruel. And I
Yeah.
was like, I'm glad I wasn't the only one, because I was just like,
I had so much. I was just like trigger happy when I first started playing the game. I assumed they were gonna blast me. I didn't.
that's
realize
why I
that they
killed
were
a
just
couple of
addicts,
my
yeah.
like escort people.
And then
I
I
was supposed to
re-
escort, just shot him immediately.
Reflecting on it now, there was a man squatting down on the ground in the corner,
Muttering to
seemingly
himself.
unarmed, and I ran it, and blasted him with a shotgun.
Jesus Christ! Put up your hands!
Yeah, tell the
You said there was an Easter egg, though?
What's
There was
your
another
cool
Easter
Easter
egg earlier in the game where, again, out of cruelty, I just started bashing rats with the lead pipe early in the game.
Yeah, this is a really crazy
And
thing.
this is a.
intentionally avoided doing this too.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Do you know
Yeah,
about this?
I do, and because
Yeah.
I didn't. I
I
avoided
think it's worth mentioning. It's
Yeah.
another
Absolutely, I-
really fun thing.
I avoided stepping on and hurting the mice because I didn't want to hurt them. But
It does not.
They're rats.
It
They're
won't.
not mice.
It won't
Sorry,
trigger
they're
it
rats.
if you just run around murdering them. I was hoping it would.
right.
I was hoping that if I like killed all the rats, something cool would happen. But I believe it's in the subway station.
It is.
You run into there's like a hole in the wall, and you don't have very many grenades at this point, but you might have a couple. And if you toss a grenade in there, it blows up, and it'll say you get an achievement that's like I've declared war on the rats. And then there's a room that you enter later that no matter what, there's a bunch of rats on the floor. Suddenly, they're all armed with Berettas or Desert Eagles, and they're all like shoot dodging across the room
Yeah.
at you and fucking trying to. And it's hard because they're
There's
they're,
like a
they're
thousand of
and
them.
they're all tiny,
yeah, their hitbox is like,
minuscule.
it's
yeah.
like a foot.
And it's-
like
that is-
literally like a human foot.
That's like my favorite thing. 'Cause
watched-
I was like,
Pretty
I was-
fucking crazy
I was hoping
that they would
it was
break
gonna be
reality
like a-
like that for such a dumb joke.
Yeah, just because I assume that they also assumed that people would try to kill the rats.
Yeah.
And then it's like once you realize you can just keep doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
But
it's
they'll
all that
also
little
have
shit.
the execution deaths, where like they'll go in slow motion and fly through the air
Oh, yeah.
as blood shoots
With the
out
fucking
of them.
rats, yeah, it's great. It's
in
great.
slow mo. It's great.
So, pretty chill sewer level. You know, you basically get to the back of that restaurant, as we discussed. Once you go through, it's almost like, I don't know if you just go down like a pipe or something, or like a...
You effectively just crawled into like a manhole.
Yeah,
you
it's
know
just
what I mean?
like, okay, I guess this is how it works.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A mob family. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's true. And so there's like underground like tunnels, and it's a sewer,
Yeah.
but there's guys in the sewer, of course. You go to the sewers and you get your way back up through into Punchinella's manor. And you're fighting your way through the manor, and he has like 3 bodyguards, these 3 heavies. And you...
Those guys fucked me up.
Yeah, they're tough. And I
Yeah.
like how like they like flip over a table and they're like behind cover and
That
stuff.
room
yeah.
was impossible for me.
Yeah,
That one,
it's
yeah.
tough. So you fight like 3 mini bosses.
Yeah.
Going through this giant mob boss's manor, and,
Yeah.
and there's a piano. You can find a piano, and if you
Yeah,
interact,
sick.
you like try to plunk out the Max Payne theme.
Yeah.
Right. And I've noticed too, it's what I liked with that and with the drums, where it's like if you hold down the interact button while you're there, it'll play an extended thing, but you can also just let go and it'll cut off.
Oh,
You know what I
didn't
mean?
notice
I didn't
that.
There was a
that,
couple of
yeah.
those. Like with the drums, you could do like a full fill, or if you just
Or
let
just
go of E real
a
quick, it'd just be
strike.
like.
Oh, okay. I also didn't have.
You know what I mean? So I
also-
played with that for a minute, going like.
on Steam. Hell yeah! On Steam, I didn't have any
Shredding.
achievements.
I did not have
must be-
achievements either on Steam.
I didn't have achievements.
There's only one. So
just-
I
what?
looked it up, and it's an issue with the port, where there's only one achievement you can actually get on Steam, and it's the one for completing the game on hard mode and unlocking the,
Oh.
and then surviving that. It's the only achievement you can unlock on Steam
Oh, okay. That's
for
weird.
whatever reason.
But you had many on the Geo. Were you playing the GOG?
No, I was playing Steam. I didn't get any achievements. I read about the rat thing.
The rat thing gave you
The rat thing I read about, because I was like, what happens if I kill all the rats? I just Googled that, because I was like, I'm trying to kill all these fucking rats. Is it worth it? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's just a waste of time bashing these rats.
Like, are they going to drop a green herb like in Resident Evil?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm
feeling
like,
a
is
little
something
bad.
cool going to happen? Inevitably, it might have if I had,
They all have
committed,
rat
but-
moms at home.
So when you finally make your way up to Punchanella's office, he's kind of a punk.
Oh, and not to
Speaking of rats,
get a little bit ahead of ourselves, but on your way up there, too, I believe, you run into who you believe is Mona Sachs for half a second. You're unsure
right.
at the time.
Oh, right. So you see her corpse, and you think
see-
Mona's died.
Yes, but you have that debate where you're like, it could be your sister. I don't know what the fuck either of them. I don't know what
Because,
They're
yeah, you know they're
identical
twins.
twins.
That's,
Yeah.
and you're just like, you saw this woman once before she drugged you.
unsure if Mona Sachs died.
But she also kind of like, she clearly left like a little impression on you. Like, even though she drugged you, you're still a little smitten. You know what I mean? There's something where
how
you're like,
could you
"Ah,
not
she's
be?"
still a cutie. You know what I mean? She's a bombshell. Or she's a
Also,
femme fatale.
also, he's on the rebound.
That's true.
He's a free man.
He's more vulnerable maybe than he's ever been in his life.
Yeah.
He's got a lot going on. He's got a lot on his mind. We
And
saw
you all
it.
know what he's going to do now? He's going to listen.
Yeah.
Because he didn't before.
True.
And that really fucked a lot of stuff up.
It really
Yeah.
did.
He's a good man.
He's
He's
got
a
a
good
lot.
man.
He's got a lot of tea flowing through those veins, as well as the V. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's got, you know.
But yeah, Punchinello, the little bitch.
Yeah, he basically just like,
That was cool.
don't kill me.
Yeah, immediately. He's talking such a big game too beforehand when like you hear him on the phone a couple times when you're talking to him.
Yeah.
And in the cutscenes where he's like, you shouldn't have fucked with me. Then you get to him and he's like, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
But he's like,
says,
he's like, man, stop. You have no idea how deep this goes. You have no idea what you're getting into. You are in way over your head. And you're like, what? Then a bunch of suits, men in black,
Just
rush in.
Bustin'.
And with like giant assault rifles
Cocks.
and just like fucking blast Punchinello, blast you.
And like as they come in, he's like, I didn't say anything. And then they just,
They don't care. They just annihilated him. And you fight him back.
yeah, you kill those 3 guys.
Yeah,
fight
but
them.
then there's way
Yeah,
more.
you walk through the
But then
door and
you
there's
walk outside.
15, yeah.
There's like
So you're at
1,000 more
gunpoint.
guys.
There's like an old woman,
your mom.
basically Sam Lake's mom. And they're like, okay, what?
Considering the rivalry there, that's interesting that that's his mom.
It is.
But we'll get to that at the end. Of the
People have
game.
asked, they're like, is that some like weird thing? Or he's like, I was just using who we had around.
Yeah.
And if you
I
think
get
about it,
that.
really, she just had to like stand there while they took a picture. They don't actually act anything out in the game.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then read lines. They didn't really have to like shoot scenes together or do any, you know what I mean? Like,
I haven't seen a lot of them, but I've seen some of the original photos.
Yeah.
They're just like disposable camera like photos.
Really?
That
Yeah.
they just took.
God, I
oh,
can't
yeah.
imagine.
And then just
using
like
such
put a fucking
low-res
filter
picture.
over or whatever, and then
Yeah.
No, it's a high res picture.
With a disposable camera?
Yeah.
those cameras aren't bad.
It's a high resolution because then they
It's a film camera. It's a
you said a disposable camera.
Yeah, disposable film
disposable
camera.
Yeah, it just means it's a one-time use. It's still, the film is still of.
Well, then they would then have to scan it with scanners that they would have had in 2001. That'd be low res, wouldn't it?
No.
Comparatively, you sure?
Have you ever seen like a book of photography or like a
No.
film made 20 years ago,
Or even from like
Yeah.
the 80s.
or even
You know
from
what I
like,
mean?
the 1800s?
There's old like National Geographic stuff that's, you know.
I guess they're also working on a much smaller scale.
Only like low resolution photos would be like old digital cameras that had like, like 1
Shit-ass.
megapixel.
Yeah. It's not all about the megapixels, man.
Sometimes it's about the motion of the megapixels. it's about how you use them.
Even if you
Matt.
have just one. This probably won't be relevant to almost anybody watching this video, but did this old woman who we've yet to name, did she kind of look like your mom?
My mom?
Yeah. I thought she kind of looked like your mom, like just a little bit.
I don't know what your mom looks like.
She's not like her.
Not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they both have brown hair. They're both probably in their 50s.
I don't want to
and they
say
both have the
anything,
same
but
haircut.
No, I am going to say something. I've noticed that Andrew will be like, that looks just like that. When it's like, there might be one
I look just
characteristic that is like similar, but
I said that's
you
why a
have
little bit.
often said, yeah, it's like it looks like that, and
I
it's
have.
like, but no one else sees it. I think you just have a very unique
I don't know if you
perspective on
recall
those
the
things.
Nostalgia Critic poll that we did, but I think 80%, 87% of people said
don't
that
know.
I do not look like him.
Comments
Yeah, and if you know what Doug Walker, then I think it was that you had on a red shirt.
I was wearing a red sweater underneath like a pea coat, and that was it.
It's
wears
uncanny.
he wears a red tie with a white button down and a black suit, and I'm like,
It's exactly the same.
and I
It's
don't
like,
even fucking wear it. I wear like beanies. It's the only goddamn hat I wear is beanies.
He wears little like military caps.
Yeah,
If you
Yeah,
got
like,
it
yeah.
down, if you cut the sides and it was just goatee, I think I was talking to Chester A. Bum right now.
Yeah. Anyway, so
yeah.
No, I mean like they have the same haircut. You know what I mean? They have similar haircut, similar hair color.
They're white
Yes,
ladies.
they're
My
both
mom-
they're both female.
My mom doesn't wear glasses. I'm pretty sure she wears glasses, right?
Are they around the same weight?
Did not.
No.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
I didn't see any glasses
There's not.
going
That's
on.
they don't look like each other.
Yeah. Anyway,
just thought a little
so
bit.
this woman, has you surrounded by her goons, and she once again, a woman doses you with Valkyr to end the chapter, to end the
This time
the
though,
part.
she fucking gives it right to you.
Oh,
though.
she
like,
gives it,
she-
yeah.
and that she's trying to kill you. She's trying to
had-
OD you on Valkyr.
exactly, it's too much.
And Max says, "Oh shit."
I think what he says is, "Dang."
This feels fucking cool.
You're right there, Max. You're not looking so good.
You're crazy, man.
Put your shirt on, Max.
Drink the bone water, Max. And so you wake up in the manor after the Valkyr shot.
Pull your own vomit.
Well, you go through another.
Oh, yeah,
You go through another nightmare.
Yeah,
Again. This time, like you go to your baby again.
Yeah.
This one was the worst one.
And this is the one that I was going to bring up with the fucking quick save thing, because I like.
Did you save midair?
I need you to know
As
that
you're
this was.
falling?
I
Like,
did. I did. I saved in mid fall,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Fuck!" I hadn't saved for like an hour.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Like, the problem is that like so.
I have a
So you
similar
can also
story.
there's also a quick load
later on.
the hotkey, which I believe is F9.
F9. It
was.
Either way, it's like all your F keys are in groups of 3, and F5 and F9 are both the leftmost in their little grouping of 3.
Yeah.
And in order to quick load, you have to double click. You hit F9 and then it's like hit F9 again to confirm you want to quick load. Quick load. And so in that scene I was dying so much I was just fucking smashing quick load over and over again. You know what I mean? And I'm falling, realize I've overshot my destination, and just like am like, fuck, I'll just reload now. Double smash F5. I overwrite both of my quick saves as I'm mid-fall.
I did it too.
And I had to. Luckily, the only time it autosaves is at the beginning of chapters or new parts, like the
Yeah.
beginning of every part. So
You have like a checkpoint, basically.
yeah, I just had
Yeah.
to restart from fucking downstairs, but it was just so tedious. And
just
this was, in my opinion, more broken than the first platforming one.
Yeah.
It was. I
Because you have
struggled
to,
a lot more.
you're changing levels and jumping.
Yeah, there's like the first one you have to like make a pretty massive leap down.
Yeah. And also, it's like, it's frustrating. I get it. It's a cool feature and frustrating that you can't really ever see the platforms till you get closer to them. The game also will not let you jump if you're not on the platform.
Yeah.
Like, jump off, really.
Right.
Or if you're not even jumping in the direction, like say you're on the left side of the platform trying to get like a good angle, it won't let you jump off the left side.
It
Right.
guided you in
It's
such a
another moment
strange way.
where, and I think that's why I kept getting caught in the little tracks in the hallways. You know what I mean? I think they have it on a literal.
I did notice
Track
there was like a
system.
little like, I think that the actual, I guess I'll say hitbox, even though I don't know if that's the right term, for the platform though, is like a little bit wider than it looks like.
Yes, it is for
And
sure.
I did at times notice, I was like, oh, it's not letting me go here because I'm like, yeah, I think I felt the same thing as what I'm getting at. But
Where I'm sure it is just to stop you from having a horrible time, you know what I mean? And like getting super lost and not being
Right.
able to
but
go back.
you're listening for your baby's cry.
Yeah,
So you're,
trying
Yes. It's similar to
locate
the hallway
stereo.
earlier that you were when you were
in
going
the
through the hallway.
in the
maze.
first nightmare, you're listening for your wife's whimpers. But you go in and then you finally find like your baby, and it's like in like a like there's candles and stuff. It looks like it's on like a sacrificial
Yeah.
mound or something. It's pretty brutal, and
Yeah.
you get another flashback of what's going on with the death and the guilt, and you realize everything's been going wrong, and your wife tried to tell you that she had something something strange about Valkyr, and
I got something to
stuff
say.
about Ragnarok and Valhalla and Norse mythology, and I don't know what's going on with all this shit.
and you're like, yes, honey, okay, yes, and you
Shut
ignore it.
up!
And you wake up in the fucking burning building.
Did you guys notice? I don't remember if it was this one or the other one, the Valkyr section, the toy letter boxes, the little wooden.
Oh yeah.
Did you see that?
There's
Did you see that?
the baby blocks
Yeah.
with the letters.
Oh yeah, they switched to well, what does it say?
It says like murder or death.
I think die. They just said or dead.
Or I
something
think
like
I think
that.
it said like that like implies that you killed them in some way or something. You know what I mean? Like killer or something, or it might just say dead.
It said,
But-
I have evidence that would lead to the arrest of who? Right. And that
But,
was signed by the
Woolery
dead.
I believe it's
Clunton?
this. I have compromising emails. I believe it's this.
That baby had to go.
Because this is the last like hallucination scene.
Yeah,
correct?
there's only two.
Yeah.
I for some reason I thought there was a lot more or something. I think they're just
It
so
felt
significant.
like three.
Yeah.
Because this one, if I remember right, this one's broken up into two sections. There's the house section, and then there's also just you in Punchinello's office or whatever.
Right. So after
Yeah.
you wake up, after you wake up, you're in the office. The phone rings.
But it's also a hallucination.
It's
at
also
this point.
hallucination.
And I thankfully like died at one point, like immediately after I reloaded because I got confused about what was going on. You can ignore the phone call and the note on the desk.
You shouldn't.
And just go to the door.
Did you?
Because I didn't hear it ringing. No.
And if you do though, it just resets.
But it skips to the next one.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it-
essentially,
yeah, sorry,
just
yeah,
because
sorry.
so it's not confusing. You go through the door several times before you finally snap out of your
Yes.
dream. But there is a phone call and there's a note on the desk.
Did you miss both the notes?
No, I missed the first one.
Oh, okay.
And then I got the
And the
second
first one tells you you're in a graphic novel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the second one tells you you're in a video game.
Yeah.
I don't think that Remedy had anything set up in terms of like the connection between Max Payne and Alan Wake at this point. But the idea of Max Payne learning that he is in a story
Yeah.
when it later turns out that he possibly was in Alan Wake's story is pretty crazy. Because like
is
if you look at,
incredible.
Alan Wake is the author of the Alex Casey series. Alex Casey has kind of retconned Max Payne to be like the Max Payne stand-in after
Yep.
Remedy lost the rights to that character. And I like to think of it as like there's like a multiverse. And so in one universe, Max Payne lived on, and that's Max Payne 3. And that's James McCaffrey's depiction of Max Payne, as the face, the actual actor.
Yep.
And then there's Alex Casey, who is the character from the crime novels, who is also voiced by James McCaffrey, and whose face model is Sam Lake. Because they show Alex Casey in Quantum Break,
Okay.
and it's
Sam.
the Sam Lake. So it's like there's kind of the two timelines of Max Payne. In one, he lives on to become Max Payne from Max Payne 3. In the other one, Max Payne from Max Payne 1 and 2 kind of goes on to become Alex Casey as the multiverse kind of folds in on itself.
And as if he's familiar with the concept that he is existing in a reality that's created by some sort of author or artist, that plays in perfectly to him eventually maybe crossing paths with
Alan Wake.
with Alan Wake,
Which in the
Jesse.
AWE DLC in Control, Alex Casey is
referenced.
well. He contacts the bureau saying, "I want all the files you have on Alan Wake in the Bright Falls AWE."
Oh, that's fucking.
and he
so
and
cool.
Alex Casey is investigating Alan Wake.
Yeah.
And so, and while I don't think that this was thought of all the way back during the development of Max Payne, I think they were doing a meta thing, which was like same thing. It's the same trick they pulled in Metal Gear Solid 2. Talking about like
Castlevania.
this.
Is that what you're talking about?
No,
Is it when it references? He starts referring to like your saved games.
Yeah. is that
no,
what
that's
you're-
Psychomantis.
Yeah.
No, I'm. Have you guys played Metal Gear Solid 2?
I believe it's the only one I've played.
Well,
it opens on the boat.
You play as Snake.
No, that's Metal Gear Solid 1. Metal Gear Solid 2 is where you're riding for most of the game. You're not even...
Because if I remember the one I played, the game, it opens up your Snake and you're on a boat, and then you switch from Snake to another character for the bulk of the game.
Okay, yeah, that's 2.
Okay,
take
then
off your
yes,
Well,
Well,
that's
do you
one
remember that you learn that you're in a simulation and stuff?
It's been a long
Okay,
time.
well...
Sorry.
Anyway, the meta of the character realizing he is possibly in a work of fiction or something is something that other games had explored around the same time. Regardless, it's just like... It's the kind of thing where... I'm not saying that that's what they were setting up, but knowing that's how it came to be,
Yeah.
it does add this like retroactive significance to that line where you're like, whoa,
Right.
that's crazy. Even though it's like, it's probably just coincidental.
Yeah, that's why I was saying this a little bit off camera before we started recording, obviously because it was off camera. It's kind of interesting that I'm experiencing the Remedy world, I think Jordan as well, that we started with Alan Wake.
Yeah.
And then we moved up to Control, and now we're going back to Max Payne. I don't know if that's the most optimal way to play this franchise.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like an optimal way. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I see it as like a loop.
It is a loop.
Because each game calls forward to the next one and back to previous ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, you can hop in anywhere on the loop and because it goes both ways, you can just hop
That's a
in
good
and...
point, yeah.
Playing each game almost makes me want to revisit the last one
other
that I
ones.
played. You know what I mean? To get
keep
to
wanting-
get the new context.
I keep wanting to go back to Alan Wake, because so far all of these games I've only played once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, you've played multiple playthroughs, so I haven't gotten to experience the first half of the game with my knowledge of the rest of the series and the second half of that game, which it's proven time and time again, every single one of these games that the Remedy makes, that recontextualization is immense. And it really shifts your perspective on everything.
Yeah, and just as someone who has played most of these games 2 or 3 times now, every time you do have a more rich and different experience.
That's what it seems like. I really want to. I might. So I think out of the 3 of us, only Matt played through the remaster, right? Of Alan
Yeah.
Wake. It said they're getting a
I
patch.
can't recommend it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been patched. It has... Oh, no, I don't think it's happened yet.
They announced that
They're doing an
getting a
update patch.
on it. Hopefully that fixes some of the issues.
Just play the original. It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
The things they fixed in the remaster are negligible,
yeah.
especially compared to the Steam version, which has all the sweet bonus materials that the
does.
remaster doesn't include.
Yeah. I even got the Game Pass version, like the Xbox for PC version. It still had all the bonus material, and it was super
Nice.
See?
It held up. It was one of those games where I thought Alan Wake held up well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
Graphically and otherwise.
It's on the same engine too, so it's like they basically like touched up all the textures, but it's the same engine. It's not
Yeah.
a different game at all.
Right.
It's not a
Max
remake.
Payne 2 is a game that like we've mentioned off camera beforehand. Some games you go back back to play Fallout 1, Fallout 2. The gameplay doesn't hold up great, you know what I mean? You can still have fun with it,
gotta
especially if you're
get
invested in the story
get
and
into
you're
that
someone who
mode.
likes it.
Yeah.
But you really do have to kind of put yourself in the time.
Yeah, you have to really meet it where it's at.
Exactly. Kind of like watching like older films too that are a little slower paced or that they
Like
haven't-
Daredevil or...
Yeah, because they
Spider-Man.
haven't really gotten into like what is like the modern, you know
What's
what I
our-
mean,
what our
like
sensibilities
formula.
are.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean for those things.
It's like when I sometimes play Morrowind. I'm a big Elder Scrolls guy.
Yeah.
And I don't even touch the first 2. But when I want to play Morrowind, I'm like, all right, I got to slow myself down.
Yeah.
Realize what I have to expect, and yeah, it's
Other than it like
makes it for a
aesthetically
better experience.
being a timepiece in a few ways, and like obviously graphically it doesn't hold up the best. You know what I mean? But gameplay wise and stuff, I'd play a game that worked like that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was a ton of fun, and I didn't have really any complaints at all about any of the gameplay.
No.
Other than the platforming, which
is just like an awkward part. kind of.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I've never liked a lot. I mean, there are some games, unless it's like a third-person platformer.
Right.
Any game I've played where they try to incorporate platform, it's like okay. It's
Yeah.
never great. You're just like that felt unnecessary.
And even in Alan Wake, there's a little bit of it, and it's
yeah,
like
you got to hop
it's
from
still
like
kind of
floating
like
rocks a couple times.
love
and-
it.
No, it feels kind of because you do jump weird in that too, where like you kind of slide after you land a
Yeah.
little.
yeah.
and it's-
Control was the game where they really started to nail.
They honed in on it.
Like movement for the character in a way that's like
Damn, that feels
unparalleled.
good.
Even
Yeah.
Quantum Break still handles a lot like Max
Yeah.
Payne and Alan Wake did.
not quite stiff, but Kind of stiff.
Yeah, it's not as stiff as like Another World or Flashback or like Prince of Persia, like the OG Prince of Persia, where you're like, you know,
You press, yeah.
stop,
There's like a mile, or
jump.
like an hour before you press the button. You actually. Jump.
So
Where the hell are we in this game?
We're at the prologue of chapter 3.
yeah,
Yes.
so you know, eventually you do get
During
out
the-
of the nightmare.
After you have your quick, like, it's a weird, not sorry to get us off track again. It's a weird, like, it would have been cool to see where it went if they still owned the intellectual property, you know what I mean? Like, if they still had the rights to it. Because I'm sure they're going to do their own thing with Alex Casey. That seems to be what they're setting up. And I'm sure it's going to be great. But I don't know how much they'll be able to keep, and it's kind of like, maybe is Valkyr, because it's, you know what I mean? We're going to learn more about it in a moment. But could it be a thing that kind of breaks you out of your reality, you know what I mean? Or kind of like suddenly he becomes aware that he's in a comic, he becomes aware that he's in a video game.
Yeah.
And is the reason that people who are abusing it are going crazy, are they like being, is this part of the same universe?
It's like
it
unplugging
is?
from the Matrix a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. Is it like red pilling yourself?
Well,
Or,
I
you
think-
know what I mean?
And you know we'll
Interesting
get on to
take.
We'll get on to the
Yeah.
next part, but and I think they mentioned this in the game. But Valkyr is named after Valkyries, and Valkyries are the Norse mythology. Like their role, usually they're women in armor. They are responsible for taking the souls of great warriors and bringing them to Valhalla. So that idea, that concept of taking you and bringing you somewhere else, I think that they very intentionally named it that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it could just also be like you could
Get
say
you
like
high,
this. Well, no,
huh?
I mean, because that's what I'm trying to say. Like you could,
It has
you
that
know, it
double
could also
meaning.
be just as simple as it's a drug. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
But
so it
maybe-
gets
Which is pretty much what happens in Max Payne the movie, which we will
Yeah.
discuss eventually.
oh, I'm excited for it. I've never seen it, and I've heard it's a pile.
So as you come out of your drug-induced hallucinations, you remember that you heard Nicole Horn say, "Bring me to Cold Steel." That's
Who's Nicole
your
Horn?
only lead.
Who's Nicole Horn?
Well,
Go ahead.
Nicole Horn's the name of the lady you saw. I guess you haven't been introduced to her just yet.
You don't find her identity out until shortly after this, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, that's okay.
So basically what happens is you know there's the Cold Steel Foundry. So you fight your way through a foundry. And this is where the game has a significant, increase in difficulty. This is where the enemies are getting way harder because you're fighting
Like
the
security guards.
the
Elite.
yeah, which are similar to the ones that you fought briefly in Punchinello's Manor when they stormed the office.
Yeah, these guys have like trained
They're
professional
similar in
mercenaries.
they're similar difficulty to each of the 3 guys you have to kill in Punchinello's Manor. It's like each one of them seems to be as difficult to kill because you get the jackhammer pretty soon here, I
Yeah.
believe, and it takes like a few shots
Yeah.
for each of them unless you're right there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Maybe it's something I'm used to. I didn't realize that I got new guns at points. Did you guys have that happen? Because there's no big moment like in all the new games, new shooters, where like think of Doom, where like you find the shotgun
And you're like, no, you didn't have that moment, but I felt
No,
like
you just kind of grab them and you're like,
yeah.
yeah.
no, that's
It
my
says
inventory.
it on the side, and if it was like a name I didn't recognize, I'd, you know what I mean, go in.
Yeah.
But
Somehow I didn't.
otherwise,
Yeah, I don't know. My blood, I was so focused on combat, so that I didn't realize that I had the big ass shotgun for a while.
So at the bottom of the foundry, there's the Deep Six facility, D6, and you hear that they've enacted Operation Deadeyes, and you see some guys like shooting
Science.
everybody there. There's it's like a science lab. It's a science facility. They're doing research, and as you make your way through this thing, you eventually do come to a terminal where you learn the history of Valkyr and the Valhalla project. Because
Yep.
when you first go in, you notice like an insignia on the floor that looks like the Valkyr graffiti that you see around town. It's like
Yep.
the V, and there's like the syringes and stuff.
yeah.
So what you learn is that in the Gulf War, the U.S. government basically started research on this experimental drug to try to give warriors more stamina in battle, and it went very poorly, as you can see from all the Valkyr addicts, and they shut it down. But here at this secret facility, they'd actually restarted research on Valkyr and had been producing it.
Or almost never stopped.
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
is effectively kind of what they imply that the lady whose name I can't remember.
Nicole Horn.
Nicole Horn.
Under her advisement, and she is the president of Acer, the Acer Corporation, and in Norse mythology, the Acer is a group of gods that includes Thor, Balder, Odin.
Other Norse gods.
You know, well, all characters that appear in this
Frankie
game and Remedy games. You
in
know,
Remedy
like,
games.
but
Baseball bat boy.
Frankie
Yes.
Niagara, the god.
and
Yeah.
you find out that you know, basically your wife worked at a district attorney's office. Documents regarding the Valkyr production, the Valhalla project continuing, wound up on her computer on her desk somehow. She saw them.
The Valhalla project is what the Valkyr project was called previous.
Yeah, and they're keeping it going under the same name, I believe.
Yes.
But there's two. There's the Valkyr project and the
No, Valkyr is the
Valhalla.
drug, and the project is the Valhalla project.
Project Valhalla.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was Project Valkyr. Was what Nicole changed it to when
Oh.
she was continuing.
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah,
could
no,
be
that's
wrong.
it's just the operation and the drug are the
Oh, okay.
two
All right.
entities. So she tries to tell you about it as you saw in your hallucination. You didn't. I'm sorry. I'm noticing there's one of those little bugs on top of the umbrella.
Yeah, I've been
I don't know
watching.
how I got up there.
He's floating around.
What's up, doggy?
Yeah, oh God, he's coming at me.
There's a bunch of weird scuff marks on your ceiling, and I don't understand.
Yeah, Matt can do whatever he wants here on his own time.
Yeah.
It's his house.
I guess he does.
When I get home, I sit in this chair and then I just throw my boots at the ceiling. As I take them off.
Sure, upstairs neighbor
So
loves that.
you find out, fuck them. So you find out that because they found out, they being Nicole Horn and Acer and the Valhalla people, they found out that Max Payne's wife Michelle became aware of this project. They, as a field study, sent 3 Valkyr riddled criminals to the home
up,
as a field test to murder everyone in an attempt to erase all evidence of their
Yes.
ties. Now, you might be wondering, who would send the documents to the DA's office?
I didn't. I mean, that was that ever revealed? Or
No.
No. I imagine it's clearly somebody internally. Then you know what I mean? Or,
Right, and it is revealed in Max Payne 2.
Oh, okay. Because I had a feeling it was
That's one thing
either-
that confused the shit out of me in this game. Where I was
'Cause I
like,
had a feeling it was either, it might have been like, because obviously we're going to get into it in a second, who Alfred Woden is, you know what I mean, and the scope of, you know what I mean, him. You know what I mean? But for a moment I thought that maybe it was something to do with him, you know what I mean, or with his organization.
right,
Just because she works for the DA, maybe it wasn't meant to go to her specifically.
right, and it
but she
wasn't.
just
It was by
happened to-
accident. She just happened to see it.
Yeah, she
you know?
just
So she
happened
was
to-
really kind of a victim of circumstance in a way.
Depending on who it was.
Yeah.
All right.
So, the Operation Deadeyes is Acer's attempt and Nicole Horn's attempt to start to erase all evidence of, her connection to Valkyr.
Yeah.
Including all of the kind of arguably innocent, just like scientists that were there under hire to
Right,
develop
yeah,
the
because
drug.
they know about it. Anyone who knows about it has to die, and that's
Yeah.
why also, the reason this is all set in motion is because Max started to expose the connection to the mob, and the mob was distributing the drug. They were
Yes.
producing it, the mob's distributing the drug, and so that's why. Well, God, I don't know how much has been revealed at what points, and so this is where
I'm
it kind of all
struggling.
comes. home.
Everything kind of comes together at this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as you leave the facility breaks up, blows up. You get a call from that mysterious voice. It's Alfred Woden. He wants you to meet the Inner Circle, who is basically the Illuminati.
Yeah, it basically feels like that. It's like some
It's-
secret society who they're like,
Yeah.
we decide what happens.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's the Illuminati.
He said, Sam, it's time to come home now, son.
And so you go to the Asgard building,
Which they
again, keeping in line with the Norse mythology.
yes, and this is in New York City still.
Yes.
During this winter storm that's been happening. that
Yes,
was
a terrible
referenced.
blizzard.
Terrible blizzard, the worst the city's ever seen. Oddly similar to the worst winter storm the city has ever seen in Alan Wake.
Yes.
They also mentioned that the Asgard building, the records were messed up, and it's the oldest functioning municipal building, which has some significance that I'm not super aware of yet.
Well, just it implies that they are older than the government that runs this city. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
okay.
that's all they're really implying is that like we've been around longer, even if it's by 2 years. We were fucking here first. You know what I mean?
We're doing this.
And they also, you mentioned the snow, and I thought you went in a different direction than I thought, because it's true, and it probably is a theme that they all share because of what it represents. But it represents, and I'm not going to be referring to this correctly because I'm not familiar with Norse mythology and I don't totally remember, but effectively like the Norse apocalypse. Is Ragnarok, yes. Ragnarok, yes, which is effectively what it's referring to.
Yeah.
And that's what it's kind of, and that's, I mean, it seems like that's in Alan Wake, it seems like that's in this, you know what I mean? It's fucking,
And also, it's a great way to explain why there's not a bunch of people on the streets.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, Max mentions that at one point. He's like, "There's less people to be caught in the crossfire."
And since we're talking about the Norse mythology connection, in Norse mythology, one of the event that kind of sparks Ragnarok is Balder being killed.
Right? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shit,
because you
I didn't
kill
know
Balder
that.
and then it's,
But I mean, like in mythology, there's Balder's the
wow.
character. So his death is kind of like the head domino in Ragnarok, and then if Ragnarok is this like war amongst all the gods, when Alex Balder dies, you have like these powerful figures like Max Payne, Alfred Woden, who is wearing an eye patch.
Oh,
And his last
that's
name-
so obvious.
Odin.
you
You
didn't realize that?
I
was
Well,
like,
Woden is literally another name for Odin. Like,
and
Yeah.
Woden is just Odin with a W in front of it. If you were,
Yeah,
if you didn't even know that Woden was another name,
I got that, but I was
like-
like, why does he only have one?
I like
sun-
purposely
sunglass?
went back to the comics just to hear him say his name to be like, is it Woden? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it like, you know what I mean? But
Woden.
he just goes, and Alfred Woden, and I was like, he's just saying it.
yeah. Yeah. So and again and Odin Anderson in Alan Wake also has the one eye because
Yeah,
Odin,
they
the
keep
god,
referring to
has
him
one
as-
eye.
They keep
But he-
referring to him as the one-eyed man.
But at least he intentionally ripped his eye out because he's a fucking crazy guy. so we don't
He
know.
wanted to
about
be like
Alfred.
his idol. So it's and Nicole Horn, who I don't think Nicole Horn has a direct,
The horn
analog.
that they blow.
But you have these like godlike
Signify
figures in
Ragnarok,
the
yeah.
society all warring in their own Ragnarok here.
Yep.
So I think it's just a cool way to, girl, birthday sex. In case I didn't pick up my oven, just went off. But I think it's cool that there's like a way to bring in very literally the death of Balder,
Right.
to kick everything off. But Woden brings you into the Asgard building, you meet the Inner Circle, and he tells you we were all part of the Valhalla project initially.
Yeah.
We shut it down. Nicole Horn was a member of the Inner Circle who went rogue, kept the project going on her own. She's dangerous. Now, because she's been compromised, she's killing everybody. We want you to kill her for us.
Yeah, because like their hands are tied in a way where they can't in any way reveal that they were involved in the Valhalla project. I think, if I remember right, is the issue. They don't want any sort of connection to it.
Yet no one does.
need-
So yeah,
to
so
remain
they're
in the
like,
shadows.
you go kill him.
And they're like, we've been watching you. You've murdered 500 people, and we will make all of that go away
Yeah.
if you can take her out.
And then
And then you're like, yeah, guys, let's keep hanging out, right? Like we should just chill. This is a nice spot. To, like,
Yeah.
hang out,
And
like,
then
keep
the
talking.
Acer guards come in again,
no,
just
they-
like in in Punchinello's office.
kick the MF door down, and they
They shoot
blast
everyone.
Everybody.
They start murdering everybody.
Except Woden survives
and you make it out.
because you jump out a fucking window.
Yeah,
Woden
so-
just plays dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretends he got shot.
So
You
know
jump
that-
out.
You know that because you find a security camera later
Yeah.
on, and it shows
yeah, well,
all
because
of
you're
those
still
guys. And not
throughout
all
the
of
rest
them.
of this chapter, you're still in that building.
Yeah, you
Yes.
jump out the window and you go back in through the basement.
Yeah.
And fight your way through again. You find that Woden left you some blueprints
Yes.
to the Acer building. So then you can head to the Acer building.
which is the building
Also,
that the game started with.
Yes, which I don't think we mentioned at all.
interesting.
But the game starts
Fuck.
with the final cutscene.
Yes.
Interesting that Woden had the quick thought to just play dead immediately. You know what I mean? Before bullets are flying everywhere,
I
you
assumed
might just you might just get nicked. You know what I mean?
Did it say only he survived?
Only he survived.
Okay, I thought they all had.
It says that because when Max finds the security thing, he's like, he stood up, a smug smile plastered on his face. You know what I mean? Looking around at his dead companions, or whatever. That he basically he didn't have her. He didn't arrange it. But this is clearly all part of a bigger plan he has working.
Yeah, he's smirking at the situation
Yeah.
in a way that implies that he got away with something.
Or that he was expecting this to happen. Almost hoping that this would all clean itself up. You know what I mean? Kind of.
And we did neglect to mention that right before you contact Woden, or Woden contacts you rather, you do track down BB. BB's like, hey, meet me up, meet me, everything's good, and you're like, wait a minute.
Backstabbing bastard.
And you find out that he had been on Horn's payroll as well.
Mm-hmm. And he was not the one, or was he the one who killed Balder?
He is the one. He's literally the guy who pulled the trigger and killed Balder at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and so he's also the one who outed you to the mob, you know what I mean, and fucking reported you to the police. And if I could be remembering wrong also, but he's the one who initially tries to get you to come over to the DEA, isn't he? In the the opening scenes. Because there's a few opening scenes.
Well, he's just your contact at the DEA.
Oh, okay. Because there's somebody in the opening scene who's like, Max, you really got to come and work undercover for us.
You're right.
And he's like, I got my family to worry about. Which originally...
I don't remember that.
Now they're
but
fucking dead.
it's coming back to me a little bit, but I don't...
I thought the motivation for killing his family was to get him to work undercover initially. Which was it's not, you know what I mean? That's stupid.
Way.
Yeah, that's just stupid. You could just fucking fire him, you know what I mean? Or force him to transfer. But I thought initially that it was an inside job by the police, which to a degree, you know what I mean, but much larger scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing I really liked about this game going through was discovering, it wasn't the small-time mob boss. It was the head of the mob. Oh, it wasn't the head of the mob. It was the head of this corporation. Oh, it's not the head of a corporation. It's the fucking inner circle.
Yeah, it's
and
the Illuminati.
It's how big does this fucking go? It's cool. It's really fucking cool. It's, again, in all the Remedy games, you're unraveling these mysteries where you think you have the scope of the situation, and as it goes on, the scope just widens and widens in ways that you could have never imagined at the start of the game.
Yeah.
Which that is very compelling, because at first it does kind of feel like a romp through the mafia. But then you're
it allows very much for not for you to create your own adventure, but it kind of does. It allows you to make the connections that you make. You know what I mean? For you to make the theories you make, because none of it, in all of it, other than in Max Payne, obviously, it's this person did this person did this. In the other games, it kind of goes to more vague and broad concepts, to whereas you can kind of make because there's no direct answers yet.
Yeah, there's a lot more left to interpretation.
Yes, that's what I'm
than
trying
later
to say.
games. Where in Max Payne 2, you start to get some of that, but they really, it seems like in Alan Wake, they started consciously making the decision to go, we have the full story, but let's just obscure these parts and not give these parts to the everything's still working the way it does because all the parts are there. The thing that sticks out to me especially is in the Alan Wake Illuminated book. They talk about how there's a lot of backstory for Thomas Zane that's all fleshed out. There's a lot about him. They're like, you know what? It's better for the game if the player doesn't know any of that.
Yeah.
And it's well, shit. That's one of the most intriguing fucking things about the game.
Yeah, it'd be cool to learn more, but it's also nice that you kind of get to make your own, you know what I mean, story.
Yeah, and it is nice that knowing that there is an established backstory and there is logic and reason, it makes things not feel so tossed together it just happens because it does. It's no, there's a mystery there. You might never get the answer, but knowing that it exists is this forbidden knowledge.
Right. It almost compels you to keep. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe there's a little nugget of the truth somewhere you can find.
That level of discipline and literary mastery is just so beyond me. Sometimes we have our camera footage gets corrupted or we forgot to hit record. It happens.
Yeah, or I didn't tighten something on my microphone enough, so it just sounds like
the entire time.
the whole time.
Maybe
for
it's
an hour
happening.
of, you know what I mean,
Maybe
for
it's
10 videos.
Right now, we don't know. When that happens, my day's ruined. I feel so bad. Matt, it seems like you've dealt with it enough in your creative lifetime that you're just it happens.
Easy come, easy go.
But for me, it ruins my life. So the idea of not using, yeah,
You're weak.
I'm a giant puss bag. The concept of creating all this beautiful world and covering a lot of it up, I'm just oh my god, what do you mean? So
yeah, it's crazy.
But it makes for such a better product. and it's something that I would not initially think to do when creating something.
Yeah, pretty wild. So as you fight through the Acer building, this is a pretty
Damn.
intense.
This-
this is where the hardest part in the
This
game.
felt like the
This is
entire
what I
weight
was
of
talking. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I felt like the weight of the building was on my balls.
Yeah,
like this part was so hard.
This is where I was referring to earlier, where it really it's like it while the difficulty increases, they're clearly aware of that, and so this is when the enemies start dropping painkillers more often, and you're finding those things more often, and you're always finding ammo for your commando.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
you constantly
Thank
have
God.
that equipped because like that was my fucking go-to at that point.
Because if you're using Berettas at that point, like good
It
luck,
was
man.
jackhammer or commando, but you just didn't find a lot of jackhammer ammo.
Yeah.
No, which a kick
Or
ass
M79 when I got frustrated.
Yeah,
Somewhere early on in the Acer building, you do run into Mona.
Yes.
Mona
And-
Sachs once again.
And you find out that Mona was hired by Nicole Horn to kill you.
Yes,
But she doesn't want to.
And she hesitates. And she gets shot.
she gets blasted in the probably head.
Yeah.
It's a little vague.
And she slumps
flies-
into an elevator
the elevator
and
goes
disappears.
Yeah, because the
And-
elevator goes up and then it comes
And then,
back down.
and then you go,
This
oh,
woman.
and then, so you never saw her die.
No, like
yeah,
15 times.
I guess I feel fucking dumb for not even considering that right now. Because you guys are like, well, Max Payne 2, Mona. And I'm like, fucking what? She got
Yeah.
shot in the head. But I guess
you
that's
think,
a good point. Yeah,
and then you never, but, because, like,
They
what?
left it
Somebody
open.
cleaned up the body that fast?
I know. Is he like, was the Horn waiting upstairs to be like, you bitch? You know what I mean? And drag her out.
Jim Bravura
She's
is
just
there.
slamming the call button until it brings your body back.
Yeah, so that was so many times where this woman shows up, dies, and leaves.
Yeah.
Or you think she's dead, but it's her twin sister.
Right.
It's fun. It's fun.
So the entire time you're going through the building, Nicole Horn's like, this is useless, Max. You're going to die here.
You're going
is
to die,
fruitless.
Max Payne.
So there's two scenarios I want to talk about specifically, and I don't remember the order they come in, but the first one is an elevator. You're in an elevator and you're looking up, the opening of the top of the elevator is exposed, and you can see there are trip mines with like a laser.
Yeah,
was
which you've encountered
badass.
ahead of now, like in like the warehouse scenes and the
Yep.
shipyard, I believe, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can use scoped weapons and stuff, you can figure it out,
I
but
didn't have enough time.
you need to shoot them as the elevator is moving up toward them. It
Yeah.
is such a cool action
It
sequence.
was very cool.
one of my
I died
favorite
immediately
parts.
the first time because I had like
You're not looking
No,
up.
no, I didn't. I didn't look up.
I didn't catch it
the
either. I
glass
was like, what am I
broke.
doing?
The glass broke, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, weird. And then I thought, I was like, maybe I need to. And then it was just like, and I was like, fuck.
I just love the idea of just Sam making the face, just standing
Yeah,
there.
that's. I was like, Gus, I'm just waiting. You know what I mean? Like,
It's like it definitely feels like a thing I don't think I'd see in a new game for some reason.
no, they wouldn't do
No.
that. There's a couple things like that.
It reminds me of Dead Space, actually, when you're getting dragged and you have to shoot a
Yeah,
couple of big
totally.
spots.
You have
That's
to-
awesome. I
It's
love
great.
those.
It's a great little set piece.
Yeah.
And it's cool because it wasn't just like you stand there and you keep looking. You have to like change your angle every time,
Yeah.
and you have to. It gets faster and faster.
Yeah,
know
and you have
what
to
I
like
mean?
move and
Yeah, I would just use the Berettas for that part because at
Me
that
too.
point I was just commandos. But yeah, I was just, and just unloading a clip on each one. Like,
yeah,
no.
and you have like just enough time to get through it.
Yeah. Please, 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 please,
yeah,
please, please,
it was
please.
very cool.
So the other sequence I want to talk about is
The other elevator?
I just said that.
The other elevator?
Oh, what's the other elevator?
There's an external elevator. You started getting blasted at by a helicopter.
Well, yeah, but
I thought that
nothing
was,
really happens.
You have to jump out of one helicopter. Or you have to
I mean,
jump out of an
that is
elevator.
cool. Yeah, you're basically like you are going through the building, and it is harrowing. You're not just walking through a building. It is,
Yeah.
it's fucking intense. You're
is,
being
yeah.
chased, but you do get shot by a helicopter, and then you're in a room, and the helicopter's in front of a giant fucking like
Glass window?
bay of windows, and it's just unloading on you. And
Yeah.
and I think you just need to wait it out.
You can't damage it, yeah.
I didn't. So I don't think it's waiting it out. It could be because I wanted to talk to you guys about this specifically because I was confused by it. Because
I played with infinite ammo and blasted grenades at it. It did not get any shorter.
No, I don't think
I emptied my jackhammer on it.
that's my point. Is that I don't think that it makes it faster, but I think that you have to do a certain amount of damage to it
for it to stop.
for the blast doors to start lowering because the first time I thought I fucked up because I was attacking it, you know what I mean? And I like got hurt and I was like, I used pain pills. I'm like, I'm just gonna reload. And I reloaded and I noticed the blast doors coming down when I had reloaded because I was shooting at it, you know what I mean? And then the second time I just tried to wait it out and the blast doors did not come down.
Interesting.
I just tried to, because I just used, there's like that avant-garde art piece, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's what I
And if you
stood
post up
behind.
behind that, it can't hit you no matter
Right.
what, but you can still shoot at it. And so, like, I was just hiding behind that, and it was like a few minutes, and I was like, well, these blast doors are not coming down. This guy just keeps strafing back and forth and fucking
Yeah.
shooting at me.
Yeah.
But it was a damage cap, I think.
I see.
I wanted
So,
to talk to you guys to
I wasn't
find out.
sure about that at all.
I panicked. I went, ah! And I just tried
Yeah, I just started shooting at it too. It was like same thing. But then I felt like I wasted all my ammo because I couldn't kill it, so I fucking
Right.
reloaded it. And then,
And that's another part of the game where there's some parts where you're kind of like, wait, what am I doing exactly? Not bad. It's
No,
just
no,
like
no.
it's the kind of thing where it's not holding your hand at all, and you just need to trust your wits.
Yeah.
Which is uncomfortable in a game sometimes.
yeah, it is.
Before we get to the big climax, the end of the story, the climax, you could say. There's two sections, and I didn't find this while playing the game. I watched an Easter egg video afterwards. There was a siren. Remember when the siren goes off when you're in the P6 facility, whatever it's called?
D6.
D6 facility.
D12?
D12's going
when-
off.
Yeah.
It says,
That's what it's like, things are going to
"You
blow up.
don't
Right?
even know the name of my man." You can actually blast that. And when you do it,
Yes.
did you see this?
I did
you
that.
do it? I didn't know you could do this, which is, I guess,
Because
in line
the whole
with me.
time it's like,
Getting
and it
worse
does
and
not
worse.
stop. It's like a 15, 20-minute level.
Yeah, and I did find it annoying, but you can blast it, and when you do, Max Payne says, "Thank you."
I think that also happens in the subway as well.
Yes,
Yeah?
there's an elevator.
I didn't do that.
There's an
That's-
elevator with a speaker or something that you can blast, and he says, "Thank you,"
Which
which is just that's so meta and that's so funny. Like
Right,
like
but it
that's-
hints, if you want to think about it this way, which
Yeah, I know where you're
it's
going.
just a joke, but it also hints at, is he aware of
He's in a video game.
the creator of the omniscient,
that
Yeah.
you decided to stop that for him. 'Cause
Yeah.
He's like, I have no real control over what I'm doing.
Because
Right.
it's clear with the cadence.
who is he thinking if he did it?
Yes, the cadence that he says that, he's not saying, he's not thanking, like, I would thank myself.
No, it's
for
bashful.
Like, yeah, he's like, thank
like,
you.
"Thanks, man.
Like, that was annoying. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Like, I know you're controlling me.
Now, did you notice in D6 as well? What speaking about that, when you get to the terminal where someone left the 665 on the screen.
The code.
Yes. Did you get this? This is the first note that I made in Control.
Oh,
The first note that I took in Control is that when you're in the lobby, there is a like a ticket counter, like a tally. It's like a number thing, and clearly somebody can. It's counting something, and it's like a spinning thing. It was the same number. It was 556.
it's 665.
It was 665.
I think you just said it right a second ago.
I fucked
too.
it up.
When I'm saying I don't remember that in Control at all.
Yeah, it was the first thing because I remember I wrote it down because it was 66. It was one number off of 666. So I
Right.
thought.
Do you
maybe that
remember
had some
in one of Darling's videos, they're like, "What's the access code?" He's like, "Oh, it's 665."
Wow, no,
it's
I-
like
I-
the number of the beast. Get it?
Oh,
And
wow.
he's making a
The beast
joke.
or whatever. Yeah.
And then
Wow.
when you get the code in Max Payne, he says the same thing.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he says it's the neighbor of the beast.
Oh my God, he does.
Yeah, and so it's like Control
Wow.
makes like a little like tongue-in-cheek joke
Max Payne
referencing
reference,
Max
yeah.
Payne.
Huge throwback. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me think that number doesn't have some lore significance, but maybe it does. More so
think
than
it's just goofy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a number they like. You know what I mean?
It's just
I
like
like
because I think in one of them they use 667.
I think there's just certain themes that they seem to like clearly. Because like, there's no reason for them all to be connected by Norse mythology unless they have a way bigger brain scheme than we think, and it's like it turns out this actually.
I
Like,
think Norse
fucking-
mythology is just fun.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
And it's
if
old.
it turns out Ati is literal Odin, you know what I mean, or something, who knows? But
Right. Yeah, you don't know. I mean, I think it would be kind of dumb if you find out it's like, oh yeah, actually they're gods.
yeah, no,
But
I know.
It wouldn't be any more dumb than they're interdimensional beings.
Yeah,
yeah.
really.
It's a resonance. It's just a sound, and it infects you.
Shut up. Go away.
Yeah, all of it would work.
You're like la 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 la.
Wear your large hard-on preventer
But
chest strap.
anyways,
So you're battling your way not only through the building but to the roof of the building.
yeah,
And eventually you do get to the roof of the building and there's a helicopter and it's like
it's the same helicopter.
and
I'd imagine.
Nicole Horn's like, we gotta go, and they're like, well, we can't take off just yet. and you can see there's a tower, like a at the top of the building, like a radio tower almost. Like
It looks like a
radio tower.
It's radio
antenna. Like
Like
Yeah.
a big antenna, yeah, basically.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like a radio tower is a big
similar to
antenna.
it,
Just to
Yeah.
make sure it's like rickety.
It's very much like-
rocky.
And yeah, it's held up by 4 like steel like tension cables, and you see one of them snaps.
Yep.
And so you go, oh, of course, what I need to do is break the other 2 cables.
You can also hear the helicopter pilot say something like, "We're going to be landing in whatever amount of time."
Yeah, like 2 minutes, and he's like, I don't like the look of that tower.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is so that felt kind of that was a little
Well,
ham-fisted.
You gotta. Yeah, it is ham-fisted.
Yeah, but would you have known if they didn't say that?
No.
Probably not. I just thought it was a set piece. So
And
this
so-
part fucked me up.
It's hard because you're on time limit, which is really actually quite a bit of fucking time. They give you a very generous.
You have a
amount
lot of time to figure out.
But
what's
there's
going on.
ultra hard enemies, and so the first cable, you turn around, pop it.
Yeah,
No problem.
Then there's one more cable, but it's behind a like a locked door. And
Yeah.
what I did was eventually got my sniper rifle and like it took me like 4 shots to like get it.
Yeah.
Because the
Through
I
the,
don't-
it was like bars, like almost like
Yeah.
a prison door.
yeah. It's like, and I got it eventually, but it wasn't easy to hit the shot.
Yeah.
But you said you didn't do it that way.
I couldn't line it up through the gate. I
So
kept
how'd
trying
you
to hit
get
it, but I
it?
kept hitting the bars.
I only did it on one of my attempts. Was I able to get it through the?
So how
You
did
got
you do
it through that?
just once, but that's not how I beat it. I had to. Well, how did you do it?
So this is really fun because it's another instance of, like I said earlier, one of my favorite mechanics from old games, where it's a kind of like a choose your own adventure, where you can decide how you want to beat it. I went to where you shoot the first cable, and it's sticking up off the side of the building a bit.
Yeah.
I hopped the railing, climbed up on that, and then you can shoot directly straight at the other one.
That's how
I did
it.
not know
from
you could
there
do
using
that.
the sniper again. I didn't. I was just like I had entered the building. I had left
That's
the building.
crazy.
I had tried to. I had failed 2 or 3 times, and I was like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do?" You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
like, I was freaking
So
out.
that's wild. I had no idea.
But I was unloading Ingrams through the gate, trying to just
trying
be
to
like,
get
just
I think you
bullets
can
go
only do
through.
it with a sniper.
I couldn't
maybe.
get it
too.
to. I kept hitting the grates. You know what I mean?
And I did too for like most of the shots. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is the only way. It has to work.
Right.
And it did eventually.
My
But yeah, you
previous save before my quick save was too far away, and I locked my quick save into 15 seconds remaining, which was more like 10. So I kept if they take off, it's this big long fucking cinematic where they, she gets in, they fly around, they come around to the other side of the building, and then they blast you, and Max
Yeah, you get
dies in
murdered.
slow-mo.
Yeah,
He's getting
it's
blasted.
brutal.
And it's brutal, but also it's just like takes so much time to just try it again when you only have
Yeah.
15 seconds.
just
So I kept having to. You
slam
can't skip
F9.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't skip the cutscene. But that's
I
what
don't
I
think
did
there's
as
any
well.
cutscenes you can skip other than the
The comic
comics,
ones
right?
you can press. I hit
Yeah, but
escape.
that's it.
And
Yeah.
it like made them go faster.
Yeah.
But anyway, I also went up on the little blade thing and blasted the other one on the other side, and then you have to then lob a grenade. At
I
the-
shot
Well, that's the
my,
other thing. So the tower is now not secured.
Yes.
It took me like a while to figure
Yeah.
out, oh, I need to shoot the tower down.
I don't
Yeah.
like.
I thought the tower just fall because the wind was already knocking it around.
I'd say genuine 25 minutes, half an hour that it took me to get just over this last
Yeah.
level. Just because I was like it.
Took me a bunch of tries.
That's what I mean. Is just because so much of it was me just like walking around being like, what am I missing? You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
that's
Like,
what I
what
kept
am
saying.
I? And then inevitably, I was like, it's just rocking, and I was just like, shot the fucking grenade launcher at it, and it went, and I was like, ah! I was like, thank God.
Helicopter gets smashed by the tower, goes down in flames, and then Max is arrested.
SWAT shows up.
It's
He's
pretty-
totally relaxed.
pretty brutal like explosion. You see it fall all the way down and fly.
Yeah,
it,
they haul it all the way down.
collapses
Yeah.
all the way down like the fucking huge
Yeah.
building, and all the
Right.
cops are like, oh my God.
I just began Max Payne 2, but I will know, and I won't be surprised. You don't see Nicole or the pilot dead. You don't see him dead.
That's a fair point.
Yeah,
but
you don't see him die.
That's a fair point. Whereas a
So-
lot of the other enemies you do, like, you murder them.
Yeah.
You shoot them right in their
And the
right in their
people
dome.
that you don't see die keep coming back.
So far with Mona, yeah.
yeah.
you're,
So
you're 1 for 3, so.
Yeah.
yeah. So what happens right after? So the
It's
police,
also, yeah.
the police sees Max Payne. They bring him down.
Yeah, they seize him. They
50
seize him up on the building
They
there.
seize-
I
I see him right there.
Oh, he's
Well,
way
just
up
say
there.
I saw
Like,
him.
what should we do? I don't know. They don't know they're doing it.
the final
But they
But he goes peacefully. He doesn't put up any sort of a fuss. He's just
Because
like,
he's at peace. Because he fucking he avenged his wife's death.
we made it.
Yeah, he makes his little face, and the music plays.
It doesn't feel like a victory in a way.
No, because you're not a. But I think that's it fits the theme.
Yeah.
Because you're not a hero. You're not trying to win. You know
No.
what I mean? There's nothing. And ultimately, it's like, it maybe be that if like your whole goal the whole time was just to bring down these evil people putting drugs on the street. You know what I mean? But you
Yeah,
could
you
give
didn't
a,
even know you're going to do that.
you could give a fuck if this drug's still out there.
Similar to how, like, it's just similar to all the Remedy games where you're a person who has one motivation.
Yes.
And then you find out that you get caught up in a whole other fucking thing where your initial motivation might still drive you forward, but what you end up accomplishing is entirely different than what you set out to
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. That is for sure. That's a good way to put it. Because that's Alan Wake, that's Control. I haven't played Quantum Break, but I imagine that's Quantum Break.
It's very, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's in Quantum Break, I'm excited to finally get to that game because it has the most player choice out of any of the Remedy games.
So
So I'll be very excited to see how each of us
yeah.
attack it, which I think I even mentioned to you guys when I was watching. I was using someone else's long play footage to pull some clips from for a video, and there was a character I didn't recognize because
who
I
the
didn't,
fuck's that?
I didn't, I
Yeah.
chose a path that didn't include him.
That's why certain games like that, in my mind, games like that have unlimited like replayability almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where like I could play through. I'm barely into Cyberpunk, but I already want to play through it at least 3 times, just for the dialogue options. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of each startup. And I've played through Fallout 3 in New Vegas and 4 more times than I'd like to say out loud on camera or try to like actually think about. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Just because, and it's usually I'll be on some meme page or something, and it's like you said, you're watching a YouTube video and someone has a dialogue option, they're talking to somebody who you're like, I don't fucking, where was that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, I've dumped 1,000 hours into this game, I should have seen that. You know what I mean? So then
What
you
the fuck?
have to go back and you got to find it, and then suddenly you're playing through it again because it's such.
We
they're
had a
compelling
similar
stories.
interaction when you raided my settlement. You're like, what? What is that?
Oh,
yeah.
in Fallout 4, yeah.
yeah.
I could not believe that I saw stuff in your settlement that I had never seen before.
That's crazy because I
Yeah.
know that you have played that game a lot.
And you've dumped a lot of hours into settlement building too, yeah.
I bottomed that out.
yeah,
Dude,
so
I
it's
put
like
that shit through
it's
the
pretty
floor.
crazy that games like that people can have such unique
Radically different
experiences. And
yeah.
I'll be very excited to see like how we all decide to go forward because it does also, similar to all of the games, it really makes you question your morality and ethics on like decision making.
Right.
It'd be
Yeah.
interesting. It'd be an interesting experiment too if we had a future title that maybe had 3 outcomes and we all chose a specific path, like Fable. Like Jordan does the good guy ending, I do the neutral, you do the bad guy. Like throughout.
That's
and
like
just
compare. Like a game
But-
like Dishonored has that.
that's
Where
right, yeah.
there's you can not kill anyone, you can kill
only-
everybody, or you can like just kill the
You can
Pacifist.
suck them all
the
off.
bosses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can just fucking jerk them off till they die.
behind
you know
the
what I
bar.
mean? Fuck them till they dead.
I was playing. I was doing the pacifist run of that game, and I'm like 24 hours in. It's it's hard not to kill everyone. It's so much easier to just throw a thing in someone's gut and.
You know what's
blast
even
someone else's
harder?
head.
I was doing a pacifist run of Max Payne, and I basically couldn't do it. But
It was almost like they wouldn't let you.
Yeah.
when you get arrested, you're getting hauled away.
Yes.
They're saying, "Fuck him."
You had fucking deputy chief. Of
Get him,
police is
boss.
Like, he's like, you're a pile of garbage. We're gonna kill you if you don't fucking.
And you're just like, I feel like Max
thought
is
he was gonna
almost
jump.
like in a, like almost like high, still off the
Yeah,
adrenaline
he's
of
in
what
like a
happened,
fugue
and he's
state.
just like,
He's just floating. He's
yeah,
like,
it's just like it
how
happened.
do
But then
you-
he sees in the crowd Alfred Woden, and he's like, that old man better fucking stay true to his word and clear
for
my
all
name.
he knows, he could be winking at him too. He can't see that one eye. You know, he could
True.
Be giving him
Yeah, you can never really
I
tell.
got your back. Don't worry, Max.
True.
Yeah, the
And then
fingers
the game
crossed.
closes, and I think it does say something like Max Payne's journey into the night will continue.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which also, it says it at the end of Max Payne 2 as well, which I
Yeah.
thought was interesting, where it's like, damn, they did have more ideas. Because I've heard some people say, like, they sold Max Payne because they were done with it. And it's like, I don't know, man. They said themselves they had more ideas.
They don't seem like the kind of developer that runs out of ideas.
No, I
You
think,
know
I
what
think,
mean?
I think it was like, look, we could get a lot of money and we want to be a business in the long term. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just a longevity decision.
You know, no one likes selling their babies.
But
So
sometimes, you know what I mean?
there are 2 other Max
cash.
Payne games.
Yes.
So
Well, there's Max Payne's Bongo Blast for the Wii. For the
Yeah.
Wii,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
has
yeah.
it uses the same thing as DK's
Donkey Konga.
Jungle Beat.
yeah,
Donkey Konga.
They
Donkey
repurposed
Konga,
that.
Donkey
That was pretty cool. It plays the cool drums. That's where they got. That's the music. It was from the Game Boy Advance game.
Right.
You get to play along to it.
And the second one isn't really a Max Payne game, but there is the Max Payne mod for Kirby's Adventure where you play as.
And it really plays more like a JRPG.
And it does. It does. I mean, that's fair to say.
Kirby's Adventure.
No, yeah,
never
there's
played
Max Payne
Kirby's
2 and Max
Adventure.
Payne 3.
So I say that to mean that no spoilers. The story does continue.
What?
And I'm about an hour in, and this is going to be the next I played that we do after this video.
It is.
I'm about an hour in, and story continues.
Yeah, it definitely continues.
But it does seem like Mr. Woden stayed true to his word.
I'd imagine
Oh
since
yes,
the
because
second game isn't,
the second game isn't Max.
Max Payne Prison Break.
Literally in prison, yeah. It sounds like he he picks up his career where he left off.
It's not the Max Payne redemption.
Yeah, so which is shocking to me because a lot of dead people and only one. It's a very one-sided fight, or you know what I mean? Like there's only
Well,
one
yeah, but it's
entity on
also
one
like-
side.
The Illuminati wants you to.
I was like, you just became aware of the scope of the power of these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're like, nah, this guy's gonna get me out. I think that's why he has that confidence where he's like,
That is
this guy
some-
said he's gonna get me out. He's gonna get me out, or I'm gonna die.
or he'll murder.
He's either gonna get
I
me
think
out.
he's okay
or
with
I'm just-
dying.
He's
on a suicide
He
mission.
mentions it multiple times
when,
that he's like,
when you get contacted by BB, you're at an all-night diner and you're basically acknowledging that like you haven't really eaten or slept or anything. You're just like coffee
Yeah.
and
you're like, I've been fueled only by stale donuts and coffee for the past. You've been
He's
basically.
not interested in.
You've
yeah.
effectively just been like going through the motions.
you have nothing. You literally have nothing left. Like your family, your identity, your
house. You
career,
can't go
your
anywhere,
home.
yeah.
Like you have nothing.
You've slept
except
these
your
3
vengeance.
Yeah, you've only slept these 3 days because you were drugged into passing out.
yeah,
That's
a
the
good
only
point.
reason. Other than that, it seems to be that you would have fucking kept going on your, you know what I mean? Like,
And
So-
I just mentioned that as a talking point for us to continue, like what we're talking about, because obviously we know there's a sequel, so we know the story does continue.
what?
But that's a very interesting.
Hopefully we don't get DMCA banned for that tool time. So.
Yeah, I know. we'll have to, we'll have to-
I'll mute it.
it's amazing the power that. Oh yeah, you're just mouthing it. The power that Mr. Alfred must have.
Yeah,
Like that's just astounding because the body count is ridiculous.
he's almost
And-
like a
and he
George
was-
Soros.
Oh God damn it, Matt! And you gotta beep that out too. And I mean to say because it got to mass media was identifying Max Payne, and they did go back and forth on this, but they identified Max Payne as this killer,
Right.
This evil killer man that was killing
Oh, yeah.
everybody. So it's like he has the power to like rescind all
You
that.
also have to think it's
Wow.
I think it's a scenario where it is to a degree. It's like something with like OJ, not to, you know what I mean, but like with OJ
Come on,
Simpson, where
guys.
it's like,
God damn it.
it's court of public
No,
opinion.
it is. It
you know what I
is.
mean? So
All right.
say Alfred Woden is like, okay, well, I can't like I can make him not go to jail for this, but I can't make him like not be hated. You know what I mean? But
Okay,
if he
yeah.
controls the news stations and the media, you know what I mean, then he can create whatever narrative he wants surrounding it, and they can
True.
be like, Max Payne is the hero who took this drug off the street. You know what I mean? And he
Yeah.
can be like, hey, Deputy Chief of Police.
Did you burp?
Yeah, I burped in the middle of that. You got to give this fucker a Medal of Honor and bring him up on stage and be like, thank you, Max Payne, for your service. Like, he probably has the power to do those things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I mean? To just change the narrative on it.
So a couple things I want to mention real quick as we wrap this up. Have you watched Twin Peaks?
Yes.
Did you notice that Address Unknown was like just doing the Twin Peaks thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I think it's very interesting because like
I was like, what's Address Unknown? And then I was like, the TV show. And
because it's very funny that the Address Unknown was essentially doing Twin Peaks, and then Alan Wake is kind of doing Twin Peaks.
Yeah, there's a lot of they're clearly like you said at the beginning, they're inspired by a lot of stuff, and like it doesn't feel like theft. You know what I mean? It feels
No,
like
it feels like they're just
inspiration.
like taking like elements or characters or entire scenes sometimes and just like recontextualizing them in a way
Yeah.
where it's like
But it feels more like an homage than it does,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just a ripoff or a cash grab. You know
Right,
what I mean?
yeah.
Because
It's using them. It's not just...
Yeah.
I don't know, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
And
it's
it almost-
using
yeah.
those elements, but it's not like...
it almost feels like it's a way to...
it's repurposing them.
Yeah, and it feels in some scenarios like with the John Woo references in Max Payne. Because even like if you remember when you go to like Luigi's laundromat or whatever, you knock on the door and say, "What's the password?" And you're like, "John Woo," and then he lets you in.
like,
that's-
"Okay, you come in
and then you
now."
fucking blast everybody. But John Woo's there's
Oh
a
god,
little
I love
things-
that part.
That was
you,
so
like you have
sick.
to like take the crackhead with you. And,
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's another one who I killed immediately on accident.
Oh, really?
And then had to start over and fucking bring him over.
He puts his hands up and he's like, "Don't shoot."
So do the drug addicts. They're dead too, though.
They're all dead.
But no, but I think it's an attempt from the developer to a degree to like create yet another connection with the consumer. You know what I mean? To kind of have like, because if you don't pick it up, it means nothing to you. If you're unaware of John
Right.
Woo, then none of those references. You know what I mean? The Buffy the Vampire Slayer references in there
Yeah.
real quick that we skipped over because it's not really important.
Yeah, but there's a Buffy reference. There's a little Easter
reference.
egg.
And it's hard to miss. It's hard to not get to. They kind of make it so you're like,
I
"Why is there a
thought that
fucking
was the
hole in
right way
wall?"
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you find that. But I think it's ways to like to develop what feels like more of a personal relationship with something that like so many. I'm sure it wasn't their plan. You know what I mean? But clearly, just it's their mindset. You know what I mean? It seems to be the way they are. But like with so many developers and stuff, like you have Ubisoft and Bethesda and stuff, and like you've got Todd Howard, but like you can't really put a face to these big things. You know what I mean? They just feel like these weird. Like if you play through Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, there's little references. There's like the Maltese Falcon, and there's like
tons,
you
yeah.
find like a crashed Star Trek ship. You know what I mean? Like there's references to other pop culture things in order for you to be like, oh, that's cool. These guys like the shit I do.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it humanizes it
Like
in a way.
If we make a reference to a song and someone watching our video is like, I know that song too.
Yeah.
For a second, you're like, we're the same fucking guy. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
we're not at all. Remedy's finished people who we probably have little in common with, but like putting in the log lady or the lamp lady, you know what I mean? And putting in the John Woo references is just a way for you to go like, oh, I fucking love that stuff too.
Yeah.
Even because it never feels like a crutch. You know what I mean?
No, and it does in some games.
Yeah.
Oh,
I played
absolutely,
games
yeah.
where like I think of Retro City Rampage is a big one
God
that I was so
damn.
bummed out by.
Is
I
that
was
the
like,
one did we try that together?
no.
No. Or was it just
They're just so
full of-
ham-fisted with them sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sometimes just feels shitty where it's like, I don't know, sometimes Remedy can just take something like the Log Lady is a big one where it's like it's like 95% the same
Yeah,
character.
it's like just switch out that lamp with a log.
Yeah.
And they're the
Same person.
but it
same-
doesn't but it's like that's what I mean. Like they take stuff from other movies or books or literature or whatever and like repurpose it in a way that feels I don't know, like a living collage where it's like things are being repurposed and recontextualized in a way that it gives you that familiarity to the source material, which kind of like enriches the experience, but it's not just like the same character, but it's so close.
Right.
But
like-
it's also unique enough where it's like
It's
that
tapping
balance
into-
is so hard to strike.
Yeah.
I can't think of a great analogy for this, but it's kind of like building your building on someone else's kind of foundation, and
Yeah.
that sounds like theft. But it's like, hey, you're familiar with this. You know how this kind of works. Well, this is how it is here. And like, oh, okay, I get that. And
Yeah.
that kind of that's like a good hook.
They do, they
But it's
recontextualize
really hard to do.
It's
Yeah.
very difficult, and I think
Tactfully, yeah.
I think Remedy is becoming
Tastefully.
one of my like,
Yes.
you know what I mean, like in a world where like everything's becoming corporate, everything's becoming like we're just trying to make money, we're just want, you know what I mean, everything's fucking pay to play, and everything has these little things you can buy, and everything has 1,000 DLCs that you have to pay for and add-ons. Remedy feels like one of the last studios that's a bigger name in general, that's like still making things that they care about and they like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this isn't a shot at like, I'm sure there are people working on games who they're super fucking passionate about it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the people telling them what to do could give a shit.
Call the shots.
Yeah. The people who really are making decisions don't fucking care.
It's interesting. I watched like a mini sort of like making of again behind the scenes thing on Control where they talked about the ashtray maze, like that from the construction of it, and they were showing all the beta footage for it and the whole fucking thing. And the thing they took away was like, we thought this was cool. But when we found out that players thought this was like one of the defining moments of Control,
Yeah.
they were like shocked that that was the case because they were like, well, this is weird. It's, you know, it's not really like anything else in the game.
The ashtray maze is
And they were
fucking
just
sick.
like, okay, this is really reaffirming that our mission is to do what we believe in. And even if it is not like trendy or, you know, really doesn't like jive with like what you think you should do in an action game, we're going to do our weird shit and be ourselves, and people resonate with us being us. And it's funny that even, you know, at that point they were 20 some years into being a studio, still like having that sort of idea reinforced where it's like, no, we are doing what we want. We are being true to our roots, and we're being true to our desires creatively, and that people identify with that. It's really fucking cool because it is rare, and it doesn't always work out.
No.
Yeah.
They've been able to be strong enough business wise, I think, to last, because there's been a lot of studios that have done the same thing,
And I think it's because
and just
they've made
didn't
those
work.
difficult decisions, like selling Max Payne
Yeah.
so they could stay afloat. Like, for all we know, like you had said, had they not done that, maybe their Max Payne 3 wouldn't have been as big a deal. Maybe Max Payne 2 didn't sell as well as Max Payne 1. And maybe they would have tried to release Max Payne 3. And then that's fucking, like, right when Mass Effect 3 came out.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then even though that was a massive flop, it came out a week beforehand, and that took all the hype, and then they didn't move enough
yeah, that
copies of
happened to-
Max Payne
that
3, and
happened
then
to-
they crash. You know what I mean? They go under.
That happened to Duke Nukem.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's the little stuff where you have to be like, they're willing to make those sacrifices in order to stay true to their, you know what I mean? Because even though they did that, they still didn't. They're still like, yeah, we don't have Max Payne anymore. His name's Alex Casey now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? We're still doing it. You know what I mean? But we just can't call him the same thing.
And then
anymore.
essentially.
business-wise, they took on what's the name of that shooter that they're developing, the single player?
Crossfire.
for? Crossfire. They're taking that on as like a. It's going to help them financially.
Yeah,
'cause that's a
they're
very
they're still
large-
doing like freelance like work for hire stuff on the side, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That someone who like control like game of the year
Yeah.
for so many places, that a studio doing like something that huge would be like, and a lot of people don't know that Crossfire is internationally maybe the most popular multiplayer shooter
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
outside
totally
of America.
Yeah, I'm like totally
Bizarrely-
unaware of it.
Yeah, I was too until I learned about
It is
this.
enormous. They're doing a new Crossfire game, and Remedy is doing the single player campaign for it.
Oh, okay.
It's
And
always
it's
been a
like, it's
multiplayer
crazy, like,
experience.
I can't think of like, you know, would Rockstar do that? You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
no,
who-
they'd send like Rockstar East or like Rocks, you know what I mean? It
yeah,
wouldn't
they would
be-
get some other like smaller like
subsidiary.
studio that like they'd hire and maybe just like put like a name on it, and
Yeah.
you know, it's interesting they're willing to do that kind of work for hire stuff still
Yeah.
on the side, and I don't know. It's economical, it's wise, but anyway. Any final thoughts on the game as we wrap this up? I mean, we've said a lot.
Yeah.
Lots of tits and ass in this game. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah, there's like
Oh,
porno
there's
posters
yeah,
all
there's
over.
posters all over the place.
I don't think
yeah.
anything nude though.
No, I think it's
No.
fitting for like you're in a bunch of like crime, you know what I mean, like mob hideouts and stuff, you know what I mean, where it's a bunch of.
There was
And that was also you have to. It's another moment where you're like put yourself in the time.
Yeah.
It's 2001, where like we had just gotten out of like the joke is that the woman in the seat has big tits. You know what I mean? Like we had just
Yeah.
gotten past that point. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or we were still really
If-
in there.
yeah.
We were still in there, I guess. You know what I mean?
Big
But-
time.
like the
Yeah, it's like American Pie was at its like height
Yeah.
around that time. So,
Jesus.
but so that was very much the humor. But
because there was that
Andrew
sex
just always wants to
worker.
talk about tits and ass.
Yeah, this entire time just been dying over here.
Oh, Candy, whatever her name was.
Whatever her last name was. Yeah,
Yeah.
she had a hidden camera in the wall, and she would film herself
Yes.
having sex with certain clients.
And it seemed like she was having sex with members of the inner circle.
Yeah,
They
because she had
implied that,
Woden.
yeah.
You found a tape of Woden, and you
Yeah.
took it because you were like, in case this motherfucker doesn't get me out of jail,
yeah, he's like, I'm sure.
got an
yeah.
ace up my sleeve.
This isn't
And
like,
then
I'm sure
you
he has
also
larger-
found like that, like the inner circle was like tied to a bunch of crimes, and you were like, oh, I don't have time to even think about this anymore.
Yeah, and when
Yeah.
he gets access to her computer or whatever,
Yeah.
Nicole Marsh's computer, and he's like,
I hated that.
if I wanted
Nicole
to hack
Horn.
into Nicole
yeah.
Horn, sorry. He's like, I could hack into this. He goes, and I'd find a million fucking things. He's like, but I was already feeling sick. I'd seen enough. And then he just fucking shoots
Yeah.
it. Mhm.
And it's like, damn, like he really like turned the rock over and saw like the full like breadth of
Worms,
reality and
yeah.
was like, ah,
But it's so
fuck it.
that's such a human thing simultaneously, though. Where
Yeah.
it's like humanizing him, where it's like he's like, I'm undergoing so much trauma actively right now. It's taking everything in me to not just have a nervous breakdown and for my body to give up on me. So he's like, I need to not. He's like, I'm barely getting by right now. I'll shut down if I learn all this too.
This is
He's
Totally.
like, if this is how insane this drove me, imagine if I know the real atrocity, worldwide atrocities they're committing.
Yeah.
He'd have to think of the repercussions of him going anywhere with that data. I will say though, not to be this fucking guy, but he shot the screen.
Okay.
He shot
I hear you.
It was one of those old school Macs where the whole thing was the screen.
It was about 1.5 inches thick.
I know, it was that good. And the other thing I want to say about this game is, did you guys, I think you mentioned this, I can't believe I waited so long to play. I think I played this game I played this game about a year ago for the first time.
Yeah.
Which feels insane. I was
does.
like, I put it off because I was like, oh yeah, it's like that cop game or something. Like, were you aware of Max Payne?
I was aware of Max Payne, and admittedly, I mean, probably my first awareness came from maybe the movie being released. Like, as far as like, I had heard about it, but I never gave it a second thought, and then they put out the movie.
Yeah,
and I remember I always had the thought, it was the same with Alan Wake.
Yeah.
Where people were like, this is a really good game, but it didn't strike me as the kind of thing I would like.
Actively.
You know
Yeah,
what I
me
mean?
too. I
Actively
really didn't think
disregarded it.
because games like Max Payne, like Dead to Rights, or you know what I mean. There's like a lot of stuff there. It's like like cop drama, like
it's not,
gritty,
like, good.
New York.
I'm like, cool.
So much of it sucks shit.
Like, I can watch Law & Order SVU whenever I fucking want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
because it's
I don't need to-
hacky usually.
Yeah.
Usually it's very hacky writing.
And it's not good. It's not. The gameplay is like just generic and bland and boring. It's like I've played every fucking 007 game for the PlayStation 2. They were all the same. They were all bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
totally.
It's like,
It's very much a judge the book by the cover thing.
I did. That's
And
the
I
thing.
think,
and it's probably because we were younger. You know what I mean? But
True, but I think that's something Remedy has to struggle, not struggles with. I'm sure that's something that they deal with. Because even like think about Alan Wake, how they had to, what was the tag? It's a psychological thriller. Something
Yeah,
like that?
psychological action thriller. Or
Action
something.
thriller, because they were just like, fuck, like from the outside, it's an author has to save his wife. That could
from
be
the
cool.
outside, to
Like,
me, it looked like it was going to be like Amnesia. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or like
it was
Outlast,
right.
where it's like survival horror borderline, but like
that's-
you don't really have any weapons. Maybe you get them for a
But how do you
minute.
ever
Yeah.
fucking market a game where it's like,
That's what I'm
here's
trying
the
to say.
thing, it looks like this, and then as you go, it goes like this.
How do you
Yeah.
make
It's
it
like-
not look like this?
You're like, guess what?
Well,
I
without
got a game
spoiling
for
it.
you.
Yeah.
You got no fucking clue what's going on here. Like,
And,
that
like,
doesn't work.
How many
yeah.
times have you been like, have you been marketed like, it's a mystery, ooh,
Yeah.
and you're like, you're like, this sucks, this
Yeah.
is boring, I don't care. And how do you market
Well,
it as not that?
I would say, a very direct answer would be, if you look at I think I even sent you a couple recently. If you look at the trailers for Control, they finally because I remember some of the trailers for Quantum Break, and I was like, it looks cool, but I don't know. The Control trailers are fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like each one is narrated by a different character, and there's a Jesse, Trench, and a Dylan one. And they each like basically are like 90 seconds of them like giving a synopsis of like the premise of the story.
Right.
And seeing these all together, if like I was following this, because I wasn't following it at the time, I saw these after the fact, but I'd be like, whoa, what is this shit? Because I think that's a really great way to do it, is like, developing the world building and being like, this is the world. And kind of mentioning like, and this is only the tip of the iceberg, and just kind of like hinting
Right.
at it.
I think Control, like, at the same time, visually, it is the game that most can be marketed with more flash, because Jessie does fly. She does use her hand to cast spells and shit, kind of. She uses a big crazy gun, and there's like all these crazy looking scenes. Whereas with Max Payne, it all looks, and Alice Wake, favorite game. It's awesome, but it's not flashy so much.
No, it's
But
not.
they even,
It's not
like,
a
they did
flashy game.
That's why they did the black and white with red text. So like, fucking look at this shit.
It has a
Yeah.
very Sin City feel. It has a very, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
big
like,
time.
Yeah. Which it's a hard thing to navigate, and I'm glad that they are starting to have a little bit more success. I feel in that regard with the marketing with Control.
Yeah.
I think my avoidance was just me being naive and closed-minded. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Same
I
here.
genuinely just think that's
Absolutely.
what it was. And admittedly, it came out in 2001. I was 6. You know what I mean?
also
or no, I
6.
was 7. Sorry, I was 7 years old
Yeah.
when it came out. So I'm like,
I was 40, but
yeah, right.
Wow.
But so I'm like, obviously, I wasn't playing Max Payne at 7 years old. You know.
My older brother probably
But-
was, but I wasn't interested in my older brother games. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was playing fucking Mario.
I was like, I got Diddy Kong Racing, and that's all I needed.
and hey,
yeah.
maybe we should go play some Diddy Kong Racing right now.
All right, let's head
All right.
over, guys.
Well,
It's,
hey,
It's better than Mario 64 Kart.
yeah, I think it is, honestly. But if you like this video, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, do all the stuff that helps us out. And if you really, really want to help us out, share it with a friend. Yeah. All right, word of mouth is what we need more than anything. We need people to know that we got the quality goods here on Hidden Machine. Mm-hmm. And we'll be back, before you know it, with an all-new episode of Yeah, I've Played, covering Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne, a film noir love story.
Starring Max Payne.
Directed by Max Payne.
Co-starring Mona Sachs. Sachs.